that we're living in right now, the political divide that's present at this moment. And
Dude, I love this. Okay. Typical Kanye fan, by the way. Oh my God, it's awesome.
I think, I don't know, tackling these topics with a lot of aggression and a lot of conviction. I understand where you're coming from. You've been doing this for a long time. I understand it's probably fucking tough for you. Like, I have seen all the haters and all the people.
Listen. I'm not having a tough time. I'm fine.
Okay, cool. I just
okay. Is the polarization the problem to sort of like get to the
yes, and really okay. Let me just finish.
Okay.
Encouraging and doubling down on that polarization, with aggressive comments and even I don't know. Let me read a tweet.
Oh my God, this dude is already coming in hot with you're the one who's being polarizing for saying a Nazi is a Nazi. That's crazy. Yeah. This person is a Destiny fan? Of course he is. My man, dude, I mean, of course, dude. That's awesome.
Just a tweet wait. I don't know. I'll just quote it. Like, okay. I don't know what it is.
Just tell me what I said generally. I'll tell you.
When you make a think piece, but you can't think.
Right.
Okay, how should I feel about that?
How should you? Well, I mean, it's definitely making fun of your video. Yeah. I mean, do you want to know why I would say something like that, or?
Okay, sure.
I just feel like you made a lot of terrible points throughout the video. I'm having a hard time sort of seeing how you feel polarization is necessarily the issue here, because I mean, you've said and contributed to polarization in your video in your own way. I mean, let me just kind of pull this out of the closet and get a little direct here. I mean, this is kind of a different position you're taking here now that we're sort of on stream than you are in the video. In the video, you say very bluntly, the issue, the problem, the greater problem here is that you feel like there is an absolute inability to give shitty people any sort of recognition. Is that the problem that we're kind of facing societally right now that I'm contributing to? We don't give shitty people enough recognition?
No. That's not what I was trying to. That's not the point I was trying to make.
But that's literally the thing that you said is the problem, and those words came out of your mouth.
Those words did come out of my mouth, but well, I'll use this as an example. So you watched the video, right?
No, I watched the whole video multiple times over and wrote notes and pulled it apart.
So you seen the Jordan Peterson segment?
Yeah,
right?
I did see that. And if you want to talk about that too,
what did you think about that? What did you think about that?
What did I think about the Jordan Peterson section? I thought it was kind of flawed. I think while it's true you do acknowledge that he does have shitty opinions on things like trans people, I think you kind of overestimate his abilities as a psychologist and as a self-help guru, maybe due to a lack of exposure to other people who do the same. I don't know. But part of the reason that I think you kind of glommed onto that a little unquestionably is that you adhere to one of his most flawed and awful arguments he's made multiple times later in your video, that why should you be able to make prescriptions on how to make the world a better place when you can't even fix your own life? And we could extract that onto figures that you also mentioned in your video, like MLK, for example, who we can acknowledge was a flawed man, did some bad things. Because of that philandering, because of that bad behavior, should he have then shrunk away from trying to fight for civil rights and fight for causes of racial equality? Because, oh, well, I'm a bad person who does bad things and I have a flawed personality, so I can't try to fight for a greater good. Do you see how that's kind of like a flawed point?
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say, but I was more so referring to the, regular Twitter user than people who actually have a platform, because I see a lot of the regular Twitter users that even responded to me and attacked me. I see them as just kind of adding fuel to the fire and not really helping in any way.
But the thing is, like, MLK had.
Let me finish.
Oh wait, MLK had to at one point be just some like regular, average, irrelevant Joe who was still a flawed he was a flawed person first. We all start off as flawed people. We never start with a platform that we can then do something good with. So he started out as a flawed person, and just like any other random Twitter user, was somebody who had an idea and a passion and a point of view at one point that he felt was worth fighting for. I get what you're saying, that like a lot of these people may be coming at you on Twitter like irrelevant nobodies, but like not all of them may be forever, and at least a few of them may go on to have a platform and have influence that they sort of have some kind of positive impact with, even if behind the scenes or to some extent they are some kind of flawed person that makes mistakes.
I disagree with that because of the notion that the way MLK, and I'm not very educated, I'm not very educated on this issue. I'm not even from the US, so I'm not completely familiar with all his talking points. But the way he approached
Did this motherfucker say MLK's talking points? Like, I'm not familiar with MLK's talking points. Like, MLK's like a fucking commentary YouTube guy. How hard did MLK own his interlocutors in the marketplace of ideas? I'm not aware of. You know what I mean?
understanding and trying to connect even with the racist people, trying to reach them than just like pure attack, fuck you,
Wait,
everything you're saying is wrong.
Bro, this guy, dude, God, the fucking smartest Destiny fan on civil rights issues. Like, dog, MLK didn't just not only criticize racist people, he even criticized liberals who are ostensibly or supposedly on the side of racial justice at the time. Also, what the fuck does MLK have to do with Kanye West being a Nazi? I'm so confused here. Like, why are they even talking about MLK at all?
You're a piece of shit.
Oh my lord, dude. Oh my lord, dude. Why are Destiny fans like this? Where do they get the fucking confidence? I live with crippling self-doubt every waking moment of my fucking life. How? How are these guys so goddamn confident in their nonsensical positions that are just purely delusional? Just so little information is trapped up here, and yet they fucking yap.
Person, I think that gets us nowhere. And I think that's been proven in the last couple of years. So that's just the point I'm trying to make. And just to add on my the point I made previously, with the Jordan Peterson book, I mean, the fact that he's not possibly, I'm not familiar with this, maybe he's not a reputable psychologist, okay? And that's
well, I mean, he is on the verge of having his license revoked.
Okay. But the fact is that
what do we have evidence that this guy's a D guy, or did a drama chatter just say it? No, Lil Bear said it as well. And apparently it comes up in the debate halfway through or something.
His book helped me in a major way.
Yeah, which I mean, it could have. I'm not denying that.
And that's fine, right?
Yeah. Okay,
and this, you may not hold this opinion. I'm not conflating you with your fans or anything, but I saw a lot of people saying like, how can you say that? There's a million other better psychologists than Jordan Peterson. Why would you say that? You can read other books, which is like, I get what you're trying to say, but can I not like acknowledge that something helped me? Can I not be honest about, I don't know, about good experiences I have with certain things? Because
honestly, you should be dishonest about that, because that shit is embarrassing, son. Saying Jordan Peterson saved my life because he told me to clean my fucking room is straight up embarrassing. I'm sure there's people in here right now who also went through their like little right-wing, alt-right arc and probably hold on to similar perspectives. But especially at this stage, like, you should keep that to yourself and never try to use it as a fucking valid argument. You know what I mean? Don't acknowledge it, man. That shit's embarrassing.
They come from a problematic source. Is that what we're doing?
You know, in this specific case, I don't see an issue with it per se, especially since you kind of acknowledge that Jordan Peterson does legitimately have like shitty opinions on certain things.
Yeah.
Like the greater problem is that like Jordan Peterson, I mean, you could look at the man's Twitter account. You could look at his speeches. You could look at where he gets booked and does talks on a regular basis. Like he's not often paid or brought in to speak to groups of people to address that topic. It's more often to address wokeness. It's more often to address trans people. It's more often to address, you know, what he agrees is like or thinks is like, you know, covert Marxist, you know, whatever the fuck. You know, that is often what he's being booked to discuss. I mean, if anything, if he's still acknowledged as a psychologist and as a self-help guy, it's in order to bolster his legitimacy as a man who can comment on these issues. Because it's like, oh, well, maybe I should consider what this man has to say about all of these topics that he's not educated in because he's a psychologist.
Your point here being that I'm legitimizing Jordan Peterson in a way, so that also kind of
I think you personally did your due diligence in sort of acknowledging that he is a flawed guy. You know, and that he does not have like uniformly great opinions on everything. I'm not personally blaming you for anything. Okay. Let's just like get that out of the way here.
All right.
You know, I'm just saying, you know, we don't necessarily, though, you could acknowledge that. You could say, I read the guy's book and look, a lot of people have who fiercely disagree with him and say, you know what, like, he doesn't really talk about a lot of this stuff in his book, and this is just, you know, a separate thing in his world, and that more or less seems kind of fine. And if he just sort of stuck to this and just focused on this, he would probably be overall, like in the greater world, a sort of neutral figure.
Bro, the whole Jordan Peterson stuff is so dumb. Because, like, you can argue literally that he brings nothing new to the table in 12 rules. But beyond that, it's such a stupid way to like try to prop up Jordan Peterson. It's basically like saying, it's basically like saying like, listen, dude, like I'm not making a moral equivalence between Jordan Peterson and Hitler. Okay, obviously, just want to make sure that you understand that. But it's no different than being like Hitler made me vegetarian. Okay, really? Maybe you shouldn't mention that. You know what I mean? Just lie.
That people generally found uncontroversial. You know, like nobody's attacking the man. Like the guy didn't rise to prominence because he had like really hot psychological takes. Like he rose to prominence because he was making a big to-do about, oh, if I don't acknowledge people's pronouns on the college campus, they're going to throw me in jail, and I won't do it. I won't do it. You can't make me do it. That's why he rose to prominence. It's not because he's like.
I don't understand what point you're trying to make here. Like,
well, the point I'm trying to make here is even if he is good at this one thing, you know, to an extent, we don't need to then give him his flowers, especially since, you know, at that one thing, he doesn't seem to be the greatest in the world at it. And in addition,
wait.
Let me finish my point. This is my point. I have two more sentences. He doesn't seem to be the greatest in the world at it. And in addition to that, it doesn't seem to what I want to say is define the bulk of his influence and impact on the world is what I'm saying. When Jordan Peterson is talking, I guarantee you 90% of the time, it has little to do with what is in that fucking book that you read. And it's more on the things that you personally acknowledge make him a shitty human being. Like he makes his living being a shitty human being, not being a self-help guru or a psychologist, which again, he's on the verge of losing his license.
All right, so that's like the 8th sentence. That's cool.
Sorry about that. I lied. I'll readily acknowledge. I'll readily acknowledge that I lied there.
I get it. I like yapping. I'm a yapper too, so I can't even blame you for that. I mean, you just said it's okay for me to say that the book helped me, but are you now saying that it's not okay for me to say that because
no, you can say it, but the thing is, like, there's a difference between, I think, just kind of personally enjoying something and even just like kind of accepting on a personal level, like, I think this is, something I can kind of separate from him, and something what I do, which is like, I criticize things, I analyze things, and then I sort of use my platform to boost and expose those things to other people. Look, I'm not making an argument here that in regards to Jordan Peterson or, even Vulture.
Bro, that Carnival song is not good enough for this many people to be dick riding a Nazi, okay? Like, it's a good song, but it's not that good. You know what I mean? Are you that fucking starving? Yeet just released a fucking phenomenal banger of an album, and you're sitting here doing tricks on Nazi dick? Like, what the fuck's going on, man? Oh no, the artist did a thought crime. Notice how Ye isn't debating random dudes. Ye clears. This entire community is filled with self-hating debate lovers. Ye better. Oh no, the artist did a thought crime. Shut the fuck up, weeby.
One that is like some kind of grand sin being committed just by virtue of listening to it. I went on my stream and listened to it in front of tens of thousands of people. Like, if that's the argument that I'm making, then I've just literally committed the same sin that I'm accusing other people of.
Of course.
That is not what I'm saying. I'm not like, I'm of like the same opinion of you, that one individual person choosing to listen to this record or read a Jordan Peterson work is not like, some kind of greater detriment, to the state of the world or something like that. But I don't think we're doing ourselves any favors by ignoring the idea that actions do have consequences, and that, there are potential dangers and downsides to like uncritically praising and platforming things that may be attached to things as dangerous as, like, let's say, Nazi ideology,
So you think all those things are attached. So you think it's impossible for me basically to say, okay, I enjoy him as a psychologist, but he's a horrible fucking human being.
Well, I think he himself makes it difficult to unattach them because he uses his psychology background to bolster his shitty opinions on other topics.
Yes, Kokum, absolutely. Even the 12 rules shit. Like, ultimately, Jordan Peterson is a grifter, so he's out just for himself, right? But even the 12 rules and the legitimacy that he got from this bestseller, even though it's like regurgitated self-help nonsense that you can find anywhere else, the reality is, like, he uses that to bolster his credibility, and he even reinforces his like objectivist, weird, reactionary worldview within that framework as well. That's it. Jordan Peterson uses 12 rules to also reaffirm that very same narrative through a totally different avenue of self-help. An avenue that has, obviously, the most gullible, or rather the most desperate people, which makes it even more nefarious. Because the reality of the matter is, the people that are looking for self-help are oftentimes in need of help. It's a self-selecting audience. It's a self-selecting audience of people who are the most malleable in many instances. So it makes it even more nefarious, in my opinion. It's the same shit with people saying Tate is good because he tells people to work out. Exactly. At a certain point, you have to recognize, so you're saying he has malicious intent behind his work? I mean, the intent is malicious, yes. But it's also not even intent at this point. It's like pretty obvious. If you pay even a little bit of attention to Jordan Peterson, you will recognize he doesn't really hide it, Malicious intent almost feels like there's something that he's trying to hide here. When I think there was, in the early stages of his career, the intent to try and hide the perspectives that he truly held on to, or his like political associations that he would definitely hide. He routinely said he's not a conservative, right? Many of you probably don't even remember that, but it is so obvious. I mean, I had to do an entire video talking about how Jordan Peterson is a right-wing conservative when I was at the Young Turks, and every single person was fucking cooking my ass back then because they were massive dick riders of Jordan Peterson. If you want to see a fucking truly prescient YouTube video that I made, go back and find my Jordan Peterson is not a right-winger YouTube video that I made. Like from many, many years ago at the Young Turks. What is the problem with him being politically right? Chatter, you might be lost in the sauce here, but this is a community that finds reactionary propaganda to be abhorrent. It's immoral and it's abhorrent. Like, being right-wing is just basically claiming that you are fine with being politically in the wrong, morally in the wrong. Yeah.
What do you think?
Jordan Peterson is not a conservative transphobe. This is another, we're playing a lot of my older hits here today. Watching Hasan's TYT vids remind me of 90s news anchors. This video didn't age well. Wait, what? Wow, way to lose viewers instantly, man. Later.
Think of the things that people, and I'm especially thinking of your opponents, get wrong about you.
Their basic proposition is that, you know, first of all, that I'm a right-winger of some sort, and that's just not the case.
Hi guys, just want to remind you all that Jordan Peterson is not a socially conservative lifestyle guru, and he certainly isn't white Deepak Chopra taking advantage of men who feel alienated in our increasingly divided hell world. And you know what? In this short video essay, I will prove that to you. There are plenty of other things I'd love to talk about Peterson, but it would never fit in the format of just one video. So if you have any additional questions or tell me how much I suck, you can direct them to me directly at twitch.tv/HasanAbi, where I'm live every day, or on my Instagram at HasanD Piker, or my Twitter at Hasan the Hun. But first, let's listen to some of the things Jordan Peterson said in this Breitbart exclusive from a conference where he was the guest speaker alongside many of these other non-ideologue individuals like Sebastian Gorka and Dennis Prager and Tucker Carlson. Here he is with Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump Jr., Kimberly Guilfoyle, and even Jack Pizzagate Posobiec. Not a conservative, by the way, just not a conservative.
I think it's partly also a consequence of the fact that we haven't adapted to the birth control pill yet. You know, it was a major technological revolution, the birth control pill, and it's only been 50 years. And we haven't figured out what it means for women to have control over the reproductive function, or what the consequences what the consequences of that should be socially.
Now, Jordan has a lot of wacky ideas about women in the workplace, but that's for another video. In this video, I want to talk about his perspective on trans rights, because that's a big point of contention for a lot of people, including feminist liberal TERFs, or for those of you who are not extremely online, trans exclusionary radical feminists, basically people who say like this.
I'm not saying that people should not be allowed to go through that procedure. What I'm saying is it doesn't make them a woman.
But Hasan, you said he was conservative, and this person's a liberal, and they're in agreement. Yeah, that's also for another video. Okay, back to Peterson. Jordan Peterson initially made a name for himself by misrepresenting Bill C-16 in Canada, which expanded previous legislation on hate speech to include gender identity, in accordance with international human rights. And of course, the backlash was tremendous. People started praising Dr. Peterson as a brave truth teller, finally standing up against those trans bastards who dared to ask for equal rights. And of course, then there were a lot of radical ideologues who claimed that I, Dr. Jordan Peterson, was transphobic. They were all somehow taking me out of context. Look, I'm not against trans people existing. I'm just against being compelled to call someone by a pronoun other than what I think they should be called.
Why are you against the use of alternate pronouns?
I'm against the use of legislation to determine what words that myself and other people are required to utter.
Except the Canadian Bar Association expressly mentions that this is simply a mischaracterization of the law, which is probably why 0 people have gone to jail over misgender crimes in Canada. But what do I know?
I think I've made my position on that clear already. Well, perhaps not to our audience at home who are just being introduced to this. Would you use alternate pronouns? And why not? Because I don't believe that other people have the right to determine what language I use, especially when it's backed by punitive legislation. And when the words that are being required are the constructions, they're artificial constructions of people I regard as radical ideologues whose viewpoint I do not share.
I mean, Peterson's being totally reasonable here, right? Like if a person told me their name was John, I might refuse to call them that because I think their name is actually Bart. Sorry, Bart, you can't compel me to call you anything else. This assignment is totally not arbitrary, just like gender is totally not a social construct. All men have to express themselves in this traditionally masculine, Western sense, and I've never cared to research how other cultures view gender. Sorry, not going to do it. Someone with less bone density than myself, for example, who can't grow body hair, facial hair, who is 5'4", maybe has a higher pitch, is now going to be considered a woman since gender is absolutely binary. Take that, Jen Shapiro. She is pretty hot though. But speaking of gender identity and how it absolutely is not functional if we were to live by Jordan Peterson's rules, let's I've been making this joke for some time now, as you guys know. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel like I materialized Brett Cooper. Like I basically invented her in my mind, and this figment of my imagination became like in a secret style, you know what I mean? Like The Secret, I manifested Fem Shabiro, also known as Brett Cooper, and I don't know how to feel about that. Let's play a little experiment. What pronouns would you use for this person? What pronouns would you use for this person? Well, how about this person? Or even this beautiful MAGA broad? Or this person whose YouTube channel you should absolutely watch because she's amazing even though she doesn't reply to my DMs on Twitter. Like, imagine meeting up with Valentina Sampaio at a restaurant. How would you point her out? Dr. Peterson claims he called them by the pronoun assigned to them at birth, which is literally insane. For those of you who didn't get the point that I was making, every single person I just showed you are very famous trans people. But yeah, this is totally about free speech and not because Jordan Peterson is a transphobe or whatever.
Do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No.
Oh, so that's why he was refusing to do that. I mean, this is a principled academic philosopher king. We're probably taking him out of context. I'm sure he has reasons. Give us your reasons, Dr. Peterson.
Why not?
Because I think that women are capable, generally speaking, of having babies, and they have female genitalia, and they have an XX chromosome, and I think the biological markers are relevant.
Okay. First off, Buck Angel has XX chromosomes and female genitalia, so I'd be hard-pressed for Dr. To be fair, at the time, he did. Peterson to point out to him in a crowd and try to get others to identify him as a woman since all of those standards apply to old Buck. Also, are we no longer considering girls who haven't had their first periods women? What about women who have gone... This is also pre Buck Angel becoming like weirdly reactionary. Gone through menopause. Sorry, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you're no longer a woman. I will be referring to you as a male now. Do you see my point? Socially speaking, the reality is that we make assumptions about gender from visual cues. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg? God damn, dude. Ruth Conda forever. R.I.P. Not off of chromosomes. Yet the leading champion of the... This is also pre-TYT becoming weirdly reactionary. Yeah, this is... When I was at TYT... TYT did not have a reactionary bone in its body. As a matter of fact, it was notorious for having so many people that leave TYT that become reactionary, like the Dave Rubins and the fucking Jimmy Dores of the world. Actually, back then, Jimmy Dore wasn't still as bad. Nowhere near as bad. Even post leaving TYT. This is like... It's so strange. I mean, look, Emma is a TYT alumnus. I am as well. There are some there, like, you know, John Idarola, great guy. I know his opinion probably hasn't shifted. I haven't really seen much of his new stuff, but I suspect that he probably is still he probably still has his own perspective and will regularly duke it out with Jank and Anna as well. I will. I'll say the thing. I'll say the same thing as like for my friend Rick Strom as well. So there are still people at TYT that don't have like weird opinions on a lot of these issues, right? Oh, Franny Fio, another illustrious alumni. Exactly. There's good and there's bad. I had no idea Emma V was a TYT alum. Did you guys work together? Yes, we did.
Scientific argument constantly conflates biological gender with the contextual assignment of gender we apply socially every day. But even on the biological front, Peterson's principled analysis falls short, since there are plenty of people who would be considered intersex, specifically 1.7% of the world's population. In context, by the way, if you want to say that, well, that's a tiny minority of people who gives a well, you're a douchebag. Also, that number is higher than the number of Jewish people on this planet. Okay, have you made it up to this point? Now, here are some personal opinions that I have that will most likely piss off some people who considered me an ally up to this point. So if you're deep into gender theory, this might upset you, and if you're a trans person, you might think I'm excusing transphobia, so there it is, I'm issuing a trigger warning. Are we alone yet? Okay, I get why this concept is terrifyingly alien to so many people, okay? This is partially due to centuries of oppression, lack of medical advances, the Nazis setting back trans research by centuries with their book burnings, and in this day and age, a lack of representation in media. I get it. It's already difficult enough to defend your worldview on things that you barely understand, like complex political theories, but changing your mind on something as concrete as gender that you've been conditioned into thinking about in a binary way requires tremendous amounts of introspection. So here is my olive branch to those who haven't had to think about this until now. Trans women are women, and trans men are men. So while I understand that your only introduction to trans folk has probably been hysterical college freshmen on YouTube compilations screaming at your intellectual daddy, there's more to it than that. There are plenty of brilliant trans men and women who are more informed on this subject than myself, and I highly suggest you take a look at their work, especially ones that immediately come to mind right now are ContraPoints, and I already mentioned her in the video, and my esteemed moderator, IzzyBear713 on Twitch, who you can literally ask questions directly about trans issues and activism, live on her Twitch. I'm Hasan Piker. If this video opened your mind a little bit, please share it with your friends, and don't forget to like it.
Anyway, not everything age is good, you know, but listen. I wish I came across this video back in my transphobe days. I was super supportive of Jordan during this time. I've been cooking up these fucking arguments for years. One of my most prescient YouTube videos. How did this age badly? Only difference is that you look much younger. Wait, really? I look much younger here? What the fuck? Anyway, look, listen. The point is, I'm right, and I've been right, and I will continue to be right, no matter what my fucking interlocutors say, no matter what my haters say, I'm fucking right. I was right back then. Suck my dick from the back, bitches. And if you want to be fucking right, then subscribe at the top of the hour, because you will be wrong if you think that there is no 3-minute ad break coming for you. Because at the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, baby. For $5 or for free. That's right. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Okay, all jokes aside, I will stand on one thing. I will stand on this business. I'm not like Nostradamus, okay? I can't predict the fucking future. But I do find myself on the right side of history more often than I find myself on the wrong side of history. So you should remember that. There is a reason why I have so many goddamn videos that you can point to over the course of the past 10 years where everything that I'm saying I have repeated. When I had no audience whatsoever, as a matter of fact. When I had no money whatsoever, as a matter of fact. Okay, I really need to know more about your Contra simping. What do you mean? I love Contra points. She's a friend of mine. And I've had her on TYT before. Let's continue.
He himself uses that as a platform to make his opinions seem more valid than they are. Jordan Peterson himself is making the detachment difficult. It's not me doing that, it's him.
Yeah, okay, but the point I made in the video specifically, my words were, not that we should do that, but that I should be able to say that. It was, I don't know, I should be able to say that I like Jordan Peterson as a psychologist. I should be able to say that Kanye is a generational artist without getting a flurry of eye rolls and, you know, and sighs.
I love this take. Here's why. You're fucking whining about people understandably reacting to you in a negative way because a person cannot be compartmentalized in this way, especially when they're not like really fucking good at what they do. It is the exact same sentiment expressed towards Andrew Tate. Oh, dude, I should be able to not get any fucking eye rolls when I say Andrew Tate is a good, positive male role model when it comes to telling men to work out. It's also not only intellectually lazy, but it is not only intellectually lazy, but it's also profoundly entitled. Oh man, the peak of this is the peak of like unjust actions in modern society is when people roll their fucking eyes at me for saying I like Jordan Peterson's book. Oh man, I'm so sorry that people are rolling their eyes at you, dog. Damn, okay. I'll make sure to get on that. I'll stop people from receiving you in a certain way. Like, why would anybody owe you more understanding in that circumstance when you yourself are demonstrating that you find the good in a person that is like otherwise very bad? Separate the art from the artist, sir, please. I don't understand. Oh, it's really fucked up that people are, you know, rolling their eyes at me when I say I love R. Kelly.
In response, that was my point. You know, that you shouldn't receive judgment simply for enjoying something. And just to add on, wait, hold on, let me finish my point. Just to add on to that, I think even if we were to entertain the fact that it's okay to judge people for that, I don't think it's productive in any way or sense to what you're trying to do, to what I'm trying to do, to where we're trying to get politically and socially as a fucking society. I don't think it's effective in any way. And I think that's been proven these past couple of years. I don't think, I'm just going to get to the nitty gritty of things. I don't think deplatforming is an effective way of doing things.
And I'm not of the opinion that like any number of words that I could say in any YouTube video would like end Kanye's career or deplatform him.
Okay. But that is sort of, I mean, I'm with Jordan Peterson specifically, that is sort of what you're advocating for, right? Like, there's no need to legitimize his psychological background. He's a shitty person.
Wait, saying Jordan Peterson's psychological background is like kind of ass cheeks, or saying that Jordan Peterson wrote a shitty ass book that isn't all that significant in the grand scheme of things, and it's just basic rehashed self-help nonsense, is not an advocacy for deplatforming Jordan Peterson. You are the one who is making that assessment. You're saying like, oh, you're just advocating to deplatform. It's like, what do you want? Does platforming in your mind, or just allowing someone to have a platform in your mind, simply imply that you think that their takes should go unquestioned, that you can't fucking criticize them? This, no matter how liberal this person sees himself to be, is inherently reactionary thinking. In the mind of the reactionary, they have a sense of entitlement. Okay? He might be a liberal. He might even be fucking progressive. But right now, in this very moment, he is operating with a reactionary framework. The notion that, oh, if you criticize me, that means you want me deplatformed. You want me to die. If you criticize me, that means that you want me to be censored. You should not criticize me. That's censorship. Okay? Well, you're technically quite literally asking to censor criticisms. That's what you're doing at that point.
Person, let's just like completely fuck him, basically, right? Fuck whatever he does. That's deplatforming in a sense, right?
No, I'm not saying like fuck whatever he does. If he decided tomorrow that he was going to stop making a living off of lying about and debasing trans people and just focus on the psychology stuff, to whatever extent people enjoy that or get something out of it, that would be fine. I wouldn't really have a problem with that.
I think you're conflating. I didn't just focus on his psychology stuff.
No, I know. You're asking me a personal question as to whether or not I want him deplatformed, or whether or not I think we should throw everything away.
Sure. Should you want him deplatformed?
Deplatformed from what? Like Twitter?
Twitter.
I mean, I think he's, I guess, allowed to be on Twitter as according to the TOS. You know, I don't really know what you think my argument is. Like, I'm not saying that like Jordan Peterson should be prevented from speaking his mind. What I'm saying,
yeah, he made such a dumb fucking argument. Sorry, I just saw something so funny. God, Alex. He said something so stupid. Alex Press just texted me in that moment. He said something so fucking stupid that like Anthony Fantano couldn't even fully grasp what he was saying. Like, he basically is, whether he recognizes that he's doing this or not doesn't matter. What his output here is, okay, regardless of the intent, criticism of a person's work that I personally like equals advocacy for deplatforming equals censorship. And that is a ridiculous argument to make.
saying is like,
that's not what Anthony Fantano is saying or doing.
Look, he's giving really dumbass opinions, and there's going to be consequences for that. People are going to react negatively. People are going to turn off. People are going to be unhappy with the things that he's saying. There are going to be companies and corporations that you need in order to spread your message out there and put it on this platform, put it on that platform, that may not want to work with you because of the fact that it ends up being a bad look. Like, that's just consequences for the things that you say. Like, when we're talking about widespread deplatforming on every level that you possibly could, I couldn't really imagine anything other than like the government stepping in to sort of actually make that happen. And I'm not advocating for that.
Whoa, no, I don't mean that kind of deplatforming. I mean kind of
well, I mean what I'm saying is like
that's with Andrew Tate, for reference. What happened with Andrew Tate? He got deplatformed off everything, and his stature grew.
What do you mean, dog? He's still fucking on Twitter. And no, his stature absolutely did not grow. What the fuck? Wait, okay, bro. Two things. One, deplatforming does work. Okay? If it didn't, then people wouldn't be fucking complaining about it all the time. Shut the fuck up. Of course it works. Okay? It does. Look at Milo Yiannopoulos. Look at Andrew Tate in the areas that he did actually get fucking deplatformed, I guess. Like Romanian police. In a way, being deplatformed, in a way, the Romanian police is doing a deplatforming of Andrew Tate. Alex Jones is another person who's like prominent. Tucker Carlson, he didn't technically get deplatformed, he just got fired. But like, yes, you are losing a massive avenue of relevance, okay? So it does work in that regard. And I think there should be a pretty high standard for who gets deplatformed, okay? There should be a pretty high standard for that. But having said all of that, the notion that like deplatforming doesn't work is silly, or depending on who you're talking about, many of the people that you're complaining about being deplatformed don't even actually get fully deplatformed.
He became sort of a martyr for the Red Wing, you know, Piers Morgan, whatever, like Ben Shapiro, everybody talking about him. His popularity rose more than ever because...
Dude, yeah, because he didn't get deplatformed fully. What are you talking about? That's exactly what you're... If you get deplatformed, that means like Ben Shapiro is not having you on his show, or Piers Morgan is not having you on his show. You become like genuinely a toxic person, a toxic brand that people do not want to associate with. You can't say this person got deplatformed and then simultaneously talk about the platforming that occurred right after.
That was his main talking point for a long while. He was like, hey, I'm banned from everywhere. They don't want to hear what I'm saying.
Where was he saying this? On a fucking platform. What is happening here?
Like the higher ups banned me from saying this because they don't want you to hear this. You know, it gave him validity in a sense to the ignorant people on the other side. And I think the thing here is that we're on the same side here. Okay. Even though I hate, you know, using sides as you know, in my terminology, but I think we want the same thing, but I think we just have different ways of dealing with ignorant people, and I don't know, tackling that issue.
I don't know if you know, what you're saying here holds completely true, because the thing is, like, provably a guy like Alex Jones, for example, who due to his actions and his words has been pulled from everywhere, sued into the Stone Age, and, you know, basically like his influence dampened in every way that it possibly could. That has provably, yeah, sure, made him a bit of a weird, obscure-ish meme folk hero among some conspiratorial psychos on the internet, but arguably he has way less influence now than he ever did. So, I mean, wouldn't that be an example of like platforming working and ultimately serving a greater good, since now he's no longer able to as effectively turn his audience on people whose children have been killed and force them to move from house to house to house to house because they're being threatened, because they think that they're playing into some kind of weird government plot to have their guns taken away or something.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I completely disagree with you in the sense that I think I used this analogy. I did use this analogy in the video. How your police force tackles things. It's sort of like trying to put a Band-Aid on a fucking decapitated head, you know, just ignoring all the core problems and just trying to patch up these singular individuals.
No, that's not the proper analogy, dude. The proper analogy is like a hammer to a nail. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That's like, what the fuck? The analogy that he's using in this situation is wrong, because like police force use brute force to tackle every problem. The Band-Aid is not the proper analogy. A Band-Aid to a decapitated head or a gaping wound analogy would basically... No, I know he said American cops are bad. He's, I think, Canadian. The analogy that he's using would be used if like American cops actually didn't do the right thing. American cops, you know, moved in the right direction, but did not apply enough force. Okay. That's the Band-Aid analogy. The Band-Aid means that you are trying to fix the problem, and yet you are inept and you are not fixing the problem entirely. The analogy is more commonly known as a Band-Aid on a bullet wound and means what it sounds like. No, exactly. But regardless, it doesn't matter.
When in reality, there's still demand for this type of content, okay? It may not be Alex Jones, but another.
The reason why you deplatform people is not because you want to go, la, 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 I can't hear you, there's no demand for this. The reason why deplatforming works, as a matter of fact, and the reason why it happens is so that the person that has been deplatformed cannot reach an even broader, even larger audience. That's it. And on that front, you absolutely do cut that.
Alex Jones is going to rise up because that demand is still there. You can't just erase that demand, no matter how many individuals you suppress or erase off the planet of this earth. People are still going to need that. They're still going to seek out.
Yes, that's precisely the reason why, because there's always going to be demand for it. You're trying to limit the avenues of entry. Here, he's Canadian. A question I would ask him is, do you like gun control in your country in comparison to the United States of America? Now, 99% of Canadians, unless they're fucking Albertan and like America dick riders, will say, I do agree with that. To which the second question I would ask him, okay, would be, well, if you like Canadian gun laws, but you also simultaneously must recognize that, you know, there's still gun violence in Canada. To which he would say, yes, there is. Okay, great. What do you think the gun laws do, though? The gun laws are not supposed to completely eradicate gun violence. The gun laws are there so that you greatly limit the propensity and the frequency of gun violence. That's the reason why you have gun laws. It's the same principle behind deplatforming. Deplatforming is not supposed to eradicate the need or interest that people have in reactionary content, in like Nazi commentary or whatnot. It's there so that it is not as easily accessible and it doesn't continue growing. That's a good way to describe this. That's a good way to analogize it to a Canadian, because a Canadian almost always is going to agree that like Canada's gun laws are better.
Out that type of content. And there'll be other figures in no time providing the same type of content, spewing the same kind of ignorant rhetoric, and nothing is going to change.
I mean,
because
provably nobody has risen in Alex Jones's place that is quite as unhinged at this point. In fact, I mean, I don't disagree that there's no shortage of conspiratorial content out there, but a lot of those people that make that same stuff, whether you want to say like, you know, and I don't think they're on exactly the same level. This is not my point. You know, you could say Russell Brand.
Stop sending me a Vimeo link about the LAPD blowing up a fucking housing block. I'm banning you for an hour. We're not doing that.
You could say Joe Rogan, you could say Andrew Tate. Like, even they understand to an extent there is a third rail due to Alex Jones that you should not be touching. You know, because Alex,
third rail? I don't understand. Sorry.
Like obviously Alex Jones like went too far with what he was doing with his rhetoric, with the defamation, with the lying, with the accusations, with the completely unfounded and unprovable lying. And what I'm saying here is like, clearly he has stood as an example and hasn't been completely replaced in the sort of damage in the sort of damage level. Well, okay. Well,
what about Nick Fuentes?
Nick Fuentes is far, like multiple leagues more obscure than Alex Jones is right now, and will, you know, from what.
That's crazy. I wonder why the Destiny fan immediately brought up a random irrelevant Nazi. A random irrelevant Nazi that is aligned with Kanye West, or was aligned with Kanye West, that literally gained prominence and even met with Donald Trump for a little bit. I wonder why he is so aware of this guy.
What we can see.
It's quite literally platforming. That's the point I'm trying to make. That is like, there's a reason why I don't fucking debate that clown ass, okay? there is no reason to debate him. There's certainly no reason to bring him to your fucking house and feed him chicken and waffles and do IRL streams side by side as you laugh, because all you do in that situation is you benefit their platform. You might destroy their opinions in the marketplace of ideas, but there's a fucking reason why every dumbass in your goddamn subreddit thinks like I'm a worse influence on American politics than Nick motherfucking Fuentes, Destiny, because you aligned with him and you were friendly and jovial with him until he tried to deplatform you, in which case you, of course, in the most like self-protecting interest, in the selfish egoist attitude, you demonstrated only then a little bit of fucking resilience, a little bit of resistance towards someone like Nick Fuentes, but the attitude's still there. That's what happens. That's what happens when you fucking have Sam Hyde on your show and talk to him about killing me. Your fans inevitably become fans of Sam Hyde because you're aligning with him. Same with Nick Fuentes. The more you sleep in bed with these Nazis, the more your community starts stinking like Nazis. Don't platform these fucking pieces of shit. That's the point. Not that anyone in his fucking community actually cares about, you know, platforming any of these people, but
due to how
Is that
noxious, yeah, Nick Fuentes is nowhere near as big as Alex Jones used to be at his YouTube peak.
Okay, used to be at his YouTube peak, but when he was
dude, stop, hyper HD disabled, stop. Don't ask dumb questions.
Like when Alex Jones was still platformed and allowed everywhere.
Well, okay, right, but when was he deplatformed exactly?
That's not really relevant to the conversation. Look, here's the thing.
I think it is. I think it. No, wait, hold on. I think it is because recently we've seen a huge uprise in like red pill content. Sneeko, I don't know,
okay.
Andrew Tate, Nick Fuentes. That might be. That's not. It's not a.
Yeah, dog. What the fuck are you talking about? They literally use their prominent platforms to do red pill kind of content. Yes. And then there was a specific platform that was created for said kind of content. You're a fan of Destiny. You probably watch him on Kick. That's the fucking platform for the red pill content. That's where they all go when they get deplatformed. There's no consistency in this dude's attitude, I feel like.
Not a coincidence, right?
Sorry, fucking, what's his face? Sneeko went to Rumble, not Kick, but, you know, same shit, basically.
There was a need for that. Maybe that need was previously fulfilled by Alex Jones and it needed to just be fulfilled by someone else. And then you have this huge movement of ignorance. And yeah, you have to tackle that issue.
Look, I'm not saying that there's like not parallels, you know, between Alex Jones and those worlds. But when Alex Jones was at his peak, he was saying incredibly heinous things, spouting,
I agree.
Spouting absolutely insane, you know, conspiracies that, again, landed him in court. And he had a massive YouTube channel, a massive podcast, like a massive following. And just allowing that to kind of quietly fester rather than actually challenging it would have long-term had more negative effects than good.
Are you sure to clarify that you aren't talking about Melon platform people and you're talking about Destiny? Yeah, obviously. Melon is the man. I love Melon.
And on top of that, you know, to kind of rewind on an argument that you were making earlier, and I'm not going to bring up a hypothetical here because I would have to absolutely get, you know, vile and disgusting to do so. But just because there's a demand for a certain type of content, and I think we can, without sort of like...
Anyway, this is why he should have brought up the gun point, okay? This is why I should have brought up the motherfucking gun point, dog. That's it. You should have been like, you know, it's not going to solve all gun violence, but the point is not to solve all gun violence. That's virtually impossible. The point is to make it less accessible. That's why there are major disparities in the way that Americans experience gun violence, the frequency of gun violence, versus the Canadian population and their tendency to be victims of gun violence.
spelling it out. Imagine how bad this hypothetical could get. Just because there's a demand for a certain kind of content doesn't mean that economically and commercially we should satisfy it. Like, I'm sure I don't need to spell it out to say what kinds of disgusting, abusive, sick, and twisted and depraved types of content there are probably some psychos out there who would demand if they had the freedom and ability to demand and consume it. But just because that demand is there doesn't mean that we should try to satisfy it as a society.
You see, we should try to satisfy it. I mean, that's a very idealistic thing of way of viewing things.
No, it's not idealistic. How you portrayed it is kind of in a very...
I don't think we should do it as a society either, but we've seen it time and time again. Certain individuals...
No, okay, well, let me be a little bit bolder about it. I think we should actively discourage the creation of certain types of content.
We do that, though, and it doesn't work.
Okay, no, it does work, because there are certain types of content that are illegal that would proliferate much more greatly. And
why is Hasan always assaulting a salad when I turn back to the stream? What are you, bro? I'm not even eating right now. This guy's like fantasizing about me eating. Me and my homie shooting hoops, so Anthony Fantano's here. The fuck?
in ways that you couldn't even imagine if we just allowed it to flow out with no boundaries, no limitations, nothing.
Not to get all debate lordy here, but like, this is literally what this guy is making is an argument for CP, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a demand for that kind of content. Okay. There is a demand for CP. Should we allow websites to not regulate it?
I'm not saying no boundary. That's not, my point is not no boundaries.
Hey,
my point is holding people accountable.
Chill.
Without like completely, I don't know, separating the two. Like, just, I don't even know how to say this, man. It's just like, I don't like the aggression because the sides get more polarized. And all right, I'm sorry. Wait. I need to regroup. The point I wanted to make and the example I wanted to use specifically was, I don't know if you've seen recently that documentary on that Kick streamer, that like heinous, disgusting guy.
Yeah, the guy who was basically collecting pictures of teenage girls naked.
So yeah, it's horrible that he has a platform to do that. But why does Kick even exist? We have to go back. Twitch as a platform was extremely aggressive with like all their policies and enforcing, you know, politically correct rules, which is, I think it's cool, but what's happening?
Dude, why are, okay, serious. This is a serious question. Why do Destiny's fan base, like this dude who's talking to Anthony Fantano right now, why do they think they're progressive? Do they not realize that every fucking argument they make is like damn near identical to right-wing arguments from, I don't know, 2014, 2015, 2016, when like all of his fan base, including Destiny, before he like turned into a progressive supposedly for a brief moment, were already like firmly within the alt-right? Like, these guys basically got de-radicalized from the alt-right supposedly, became Destiny fans, and then slowly but surely seeped back into that exact same fucking framework. I don't even think they realize it, though. I don't think they recognize it personally. I think they genuinely do think they're progressive. This guy is progressive. Look at him. He's shitting on Kick, which he should be. That part is very valid, right? But it makes no sense to be like, I'm a progressive guy, I hate Kick, but also Kick exists because Twitch was too woke and too SJW, and that's why they fucking created. That's why they created Kick.
Happened, and what sort of happened, and you know, as a result of that, is you get this disgusting, heinous counterculture of Kick, of Rumble. You have these platforms who will enable people who behave like that, will enable people who say problematic things. And now, like, there's when otherwise you could have controlled that type of behavior. Now it's just completely loose. It's just completely out of control. So I see that.
No, wait, I'm not.
Wait, let me finish.
I'm not following you.
I see that streamer as a direct result of that.
I really don't get what you're saying.
That's such a dumb argument. Yeah, that streamer should have fucking stayed on Twitch and should have grown even more prominent with his pedophilia. You know, because if there was no kick, that streamer would be streaming on Twitch or YouTube. Like what?
Are you saying that if he was allowed on Twitch, he would be able to be more easily controlled or something?
No, I'm saying because of Twitch's aggression and like draconian rules when it comes to like not saying anything problematic.
But he's not just simply saying problematic things. He's collecting what is effectively CP and posting it on a Discord.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have been allowed to do that on Twitch.
But he's simultaneously fucking saying Twitch's woke policies created kick. What is it, bro? Do you want there to be woke policies like anti-CP policies? Is this simply a matter of disagreement between what policies you think should be allowed? That's crazy. This is such a bad argument, man. This is like the domino thing, you know, like that meme of like you drop the small domino and then the big one falls. But he's doing that for CP. What the fuck? He's like, Twitch bans unregulated online crypto gambling casinos. And then at the end of it, the largest domino is like random fucking streamer at kick.tv is collecting child pornography. How did we get here? Don't worry about it.
Have they been less aggressive with their pursuit of justice? The point I'm trying to make is that Twitch would still be the predominant streaming platform if there wasn't so many people fed up with their fucking...
I mean, they're still technically the predominant streaming platform from what I understand.
Technically, but kick is a big problem. We can agree on that, right? We're not going to pretend like we disagree on that.
Yeah, but it's not a problem that doesn't exist because Twitch has rules.
I see that directly. I mean, what's his name? Trainwreck's TV?
Bro, it's so funny where he's like, on the one hand, he literally is saying, I think you can reason with this guy. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't think he's coming across as like not the worst person ever. It's the worst time for me to say this. Okay. I think that you could like talk this dude down and explain to him why he's wrong, and maybe he'll be more understanding. I think he comes across a little bit misguided and not like unhinged. Okay. Or maybe I'm a fucking idiot who always thinks that you can reason with anyone and everyone, which is why I try to reason with like gray names on their 7,000 sock account in here saying the same exact nonsensical bullshit. However, the point he's trying to make here is a ridiculous one. That's number one. If he wasn't in front of an audience and if it was a private conversation, I agree. The notion that like this dude here, let me take it all back for a second. He's advocating against deplatforming while simultaneously talking about the issues of replatforming. Do you understand? Like, it's not deplatforming that created Kick. You can't make that argument. Especially when you ostensibly are not pro CP or pro the collection of child pornography like this one Kick streamer was doing. And therefore, you would probably demand, understandably, to ban that person from Twitch as well.
TV, the reason he's the founder of Kick, the reason he even started Kick was because he was banned off Twitch. And he saw that as a direct opportunity. You know, fuck, there's so many people that have been banned over realistically small stuff, not
okay.
major stuff.
Okay.
Let me finish.
No, I'm
Hold
stopping
on.
you because
Hold
it's
on.
an awful
Not
point. It's an
Alex
awful
not
point, and
Alex-
people in
not
the chat
Alex
are
Jones
fucking
level.
cringing at what you're saying, bro. Listen.
I don't care what people
Listen,
think.
no, you should. This is a point where you listen.
But it was
listen.
not
I'm stopping
Alex
you
Jones
before.
level,
I'm
but it was
stopping you
treated in the
before.
same way.
I'm stopping you before you harm yourself because
He's right, by the way. He's smart to fucking stop him because this dude is making an argument that's unironically coming across really fucking bad for him.
you know, yeah, I think self-harm is against TOS on Twitch. Listen,
Also, Trainwrecks isn't even banned on Twitch, man.
Just because we know for a fact that the way that the economy on the internet works today and what's allowed and what's not allowed, just because we know for a fact the fact that we don't allow the purchase and sale of certain things in the light, in what you would call, like, you know, a white market. You know, just because we don't
purchase and sale of what thing? Like child pornography? Is that what you're referring to?
That could be one thing, or black tar heroin, or slaves,
No,
or
that's not what I'm
illegal
saying.
weaponry.
I'm not talking
no,
about directly.
listen
I'm
to
talking
me.
about
Listen to me.
opinions.
You're not even listening to me finish my point. Just because we know the fact that we don't allow that in sort of like, you know, the regular markets on the internet, so on and so forth, and as a result of that, that pushes the sale and purchase of that stuff down into the dark web. Just because we know it creates a black market of sorts around that kind of stuff, around that kind of whatever you want to buy, whatever you want to purchase. Just because we know that exists doesn't mean that we should just start taking a softer approach with it in general society. Because, well, it's going to exist anyway down there in obscurity on the dark web. So we might as well just be like open to it generally because it's going to exist anyway. You're completely ignoring the fact that there is potentially a sliding scale of exposure that goes on between just rejecting it and making it illegal to an extent and just allowing it to flow unquestionably. Like
I'm talking about the marketplace of ideas, though. I'm not talking about like black tar heroin, or it's a completely different.
No. It's not just the marketplace of ideas, because you're talking about a guy who makes a name for himself on Twitch, effectively creating a CP subscription service on his Discord.
Who? The guy on Kick?
Yes, the guy on Kick who we talked about. There's a little documentary.
Him specifically, he would be heinous anywhere.
But you specifically brought him up as an example. How are you not talking about?
Why did you bring him up then? That makes no sense. You're the one who brought him up because you thought it was a good point to bring about. That, like, you tried to make an argument that Twitch created him, okay, by having aggressive terms of service, because aggressive terms of service somehow created Kick. And then that guy found a place to do his shit at Kick. The real argument here should be Kick should also have aggressive terms of service, not that Twitch created the pedophile dude.
Him specifically.
I use them
as if your goal here is, if you have like a consistent moral through line in this debate, then you can't have a grudge against Twitch in this circumstance, which you, I assume, recognize is doing the right thing and banning the child pornography guy.
An example because of the ripple effects of Kick existing, of Trainwrecks transferring over to Kick, making Kick. That's the reason he was.
Kick existing is another point for replatforming. People that get deplatformed now have secondary markets where they are replatformed. So the problem should be not that those secondary, like, this person's argument literally doesn't make sense. If you are consistent, then you shouldn't be advocating against deplatforming. You should be advocating against replatforming. You should be advocating for more deplatforming. You should be advocating for Kick to not exist then. Not that it's really fucked up that Twitch is banning too many people. That's so dumb. What are you saying? You're like, I'm against deplatforming because people then go and replatform the people that were deplatformed. It's like, no, if you're on the side of being against child pornography, you should be advocating for more deplatforming, not less in this situation.
Was even enabled to do that. If Twitch was a little bit more lenient with their approach of I don't know, banning certain ideas that didn't align completely with, like, I don't know, leftist ideology, he wouldn't have been enabled to do that. He wouldn't have a platform as large as Kick.
Bro's just mad that Destiny's bad. Yeah, 100%. It's got to be the reason why he's like bringing it up like this, and is completely oblivious, much like many Destiny fans are, to the actual facts of the matter. Ironic because, you know, you're supposed to be this fucking super brilliant debate lord guy here. Trainwrecks is not banned on Twitch.
Like he does right now, which is, by the way, not in the dark web. Kick is a large platform.
No, I know it's not in the dark web. I'm not saying it is.
And because of the ripple effects of that aggression, of that pursuit for justice, which you are participating in too, we now have this platform which enables people like him and other problematic people to do whatever they want without.
I haven't watched this guy's video. This is more entertaining than watching his video, in my opinion.
Without any rules. So now we have like a complete fucking lawless land of fucking ignorance and problematic behavior.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Seems like he's advocating for more deplatforming. Once again, he doesn't want Kick to exist, which is like quite censorious, my friend.
Okay, here's the thing though. What you're not explaining and why what you're advocating for makes no sense.
Okay.
Is because ultimately what you're arguing here is because there are some rules which you've arbitrarily decided go too far. We need to have less rules and be more lenient, or else we might have a streaming platform at some point that's more obscure that gets made out of bitterness against Twitch.
Thank you, Melon Boy.
And there's people doing stuff on there that's even worse.
It's not just, it's symptomatic.
So what I'm asking you is how lenient do we need to be? How much do we need to just kind of like let go out of fear that somebody with a worse opinion or a worse type of content or a more abusive or a more destructive whatever is going to rise as a result of it? Like, do you not potentially see a future where just not having any boundaries around any of it actually ends up coming through with like the worst outcome here?
By the way, the reason why I said this is reactionary thinking is because whether he recognizes this or not, regardless of whether he sees himself as a progressive or not, he's engaging in a reactionary line of thinking. The argument that like racism will always exist, and as a matter of fact, it exists way harder behind closed doors. That's why you should let white people say the N-word. Not saying that he's making this exact argument, but this argument is analogous and it is reactionary, and it is one made by right-wingers in general. Okay? I'm not saying he's making that argument currently, but the root of the logic is the exact same. That's why I'm saying it's reactionary arguments in general.
I'm not saying you're going
because again, to go back to Alex Jones, there was a point on the internet where it was the Wild West and we just kind of let people talk about and, you know, discuss whatever and make whatever accusations they wanted. And it resulted in the families of dead children being threatened multiple times and harassed mercilessly.
You're misinterpreting my point on purpose. You're misrepresenting.
No, I'm really not. Listen,
let me ask you a question. Am I saying that we shouldn't have any rules? Is that what I'm saying?
It is, because I don't know what you think the rules should be. You're not defining what the rules should be.
You're not saying it, but come on. He sounds like someone who had made that argument at least once. No, I'm not going to say that this dude is fucking making an argument to say the N-word is a white guy, okay? I'm not. I don't know. I don't know anything about him. The only thing I know about him is that he is, I guess, an Anthony Fantano clip channel, judging by what people were saying in the chat. Originally, he was like a Fantano fan, and he's also a Destiny fan, it seems, and he fancies himself to be a progressive. And he's simultaneously defending the idea that like Kanye West should not be deplatformed for his takes.
Because here's the thing: we could say hypothetically, you know, you brought up the guy who there was that document.
He's also a pedo. No, don't do that. We're not. Listen, we are not like the debate lord audiences that catch someone making a false argument and then immediately extrapolate from that false argument the logical conclusion. Don't do that. I don't like that. It's one of my least favorite aspects of debate culture. Okay? It is when the audience does stuff like that. This is why people hate this community. No, we don't. This community is not This community is not like that in most parts. For the most part, we're not like that at all, because I specifically hate that kind of toxic drama purgatory that debate communities engage in, where they are like being as categorically uncharitable as possible and then clipping someone out of context and then claiming that they're like, defending child pornography existing. I don't think he believes that. He's making that argument currently without recognizing that he's making that argument currently. So you should always be charitable to the people that you're receiving. You should always be charitable to the people that you are debating, I guess, or that don't agree with you, until they demonstrate that they absolutely are making that argument. That's important. Because the reality of the matter is, that is what Destiny's community does quite frequently. They try to run off of some kind of logical fallacy that traps the interlocutor into a position that they don't agree with, to then run with that and then hyperfixate on that and consistently over and over again repeat it as though that is exactly what that person had said and that's what they represent, that's what they believe. This happens to me quite frequently, as a matter of fact, and I hate it when people do that. It is exactly what the alt-right used to do. It is exactly what they kept doing over and over and over again. It is exactly what Destiny's community does. Vosh's community does this as well. It's really frustrating, and I think it poisons any kind of real productive conversation that you could have with someone with differing opinions. Okay? It's just straight Gamergate shit.
Documentary about who was collecting the pictures of teen girls, right? Let's say that fucking guy, because he's mad he can't do that on Twitch, starts his own kick. Does that not then in your mind create an argument, well, maybe we should be more lenient about this stuff because he went off and created his own platform anyway? No, that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't mean that we should start having a softer approach with that shit.
The demand for a site such as that would be much lower if you were just to ban extremist people who are actually like extremely directly harmful to society, like Nick Fuentes, like Alex Jones, than if you were to like ban people like, I don't know, Ben Shapiro. Like
nobody's banning Ben Shapiro.
Okay, or
even trying to. I mean, as noxious as Ben Shapiro is,
Destiny.
But the thing is, like, the thing is, Destiny, in some of his worst moments, has advocated for and voiced very loudly some pretty heinous and violent shit.
Like what?
Oh, wow. It would be a really stupid idea to repeat it on my stream right now, which I don't want to get banned from. So I'm not going to walk into that fucking rake, you moron. Like, okay. Like you can go and look it up on Twitter, on YouTube, on wherever, because I'm not going to come on stream here and repeat the stuff Destiny said that got him banned.
The way I understood it, it was on a much more moderate level than I'm like.
The way you understood it is wrong, because you're a fan of his, I suspect. Like, that's crazy. This guy's just regurgitating everything he's hearing from Destiny's communities without getting an actual point and going on and on about getting canceled online. Unlike you guys shouldn't cancel your subscription at the top of the hour. Brother, that is a very good fucking debate, but you did it at 4:47. You have like at least 10 more minutes to hit that. Like, you busted a nut. 13 minutes is too early. Like 4:50 would have been too early. Stop throwing 10-10s like that, okay? Timing matters. Timing matters. If I were to do a debate for you at 4:47, you give me a fucking 0 out of 10. Great execution. Yes. Awful timing, regardless.
Really seen words come out of this man's mouth that unquestionably advocated for the murder and death and killing of people who, for his own personal ideological reasons, he found to be disagreeable. And that's not good.
You kind of do the same thing, don't you?
No, I don't hop on stream and advocate for the death of others. No, I don't. Or else I would be in the same pool as Destiny right now.
Okay, but I mean, Destiny is a relatively moderate streamer. You wouldn't agree that he's politically like moderate, like relatively speaking.
I think he has his moments, but generally I don't really tend to classify people who, advocate for systematic murder to be moderate.
Brother, it's a ridiculous thing to say that about a person who has advocated to run over Black Lives Matter protesters because they're ruining the Democratic re-election chances, okay? Like, when you add that to the tail end of that conversation, that doesn't change the reality. even at all. That doesn't make it moderate. This is what happens when you are so perma-stuck online and don't fucking comprehend that things like this, okay, statements like that come across unhinged to every single person that hears it, that is not directly in the immediate orbit of the content creator. Okay? Like, Too Mad ODs. Everyone's talking about how he has credible accusations of pedophilia, stalking, death threats of other content creators. What does Destiny do? He tweets out about how he was a real one. RIP to a brave soldier, and like unfriends him on Discord. He does that because he thinks this kind of edgy nonsense actually plays well to his fucking Groyper ass audience, Groyper adjacent audience, formerly reformed 4chan pollsters, for example, formerly reformed Kiwi Farms frequenters who now also still do the exact same thing. And then they turn around and go, it's a joke, right? Like that person is saying right now. Now, I try to be as charitable as possible to people making jokes. The difference, however, is that he was a friend of Too Mad. That's the difference. He loved Too Mad when Too Mad was coming after me. A big fan, had him on the show. It's a joke that is funny to people who are like super fucking, people who are also super online. Okay? That's why I always say, just be normal. Just be normal. You laughed at a cop being attacked by a dog? Exactly, because that shit is fucking hilarious. You can cry about that all day, every day. Okay? The dog was not attacking the cop, by the way. And no, I didn't laugh at the cop being attacked by a dog. I laughed at a cop shooting the other cop, thinking that they were shooting a fucking dog. And the reason why that is not a part of my mini sequence of cancellation clips is because most people look at that and go, that's pretty funny that that happened. Okay? It's a perfect fuck up. Cops being trigger happy, cops trying to kill a fucking dog, and then accidentally shooting another cop in the foot. And then going, are you okay? And then the other cop going, no, you shot me. That is an objectively funny comedic situation. You can't have it both ways. You can't, on the one hand, try to say, no, it's cool that, like, you were friends with Too Mad. And it's cool that, you know, while everyone is talking about how much of a fucking abuser he was, okay, that you're, like, talking about how you were friends with him and reinforcing that. That's a joke. While simultaneously turning around and being like, I can't believe that in the number one OECD nation for police brutality, okay, a police officer shooting another police officer in the foot in a wound that grazed the other cop, by the way. It's not like the other cop fucking died. Okay? When he was interested in trying to kill a dog, that is, you can't laugh at that. That's really fucked up. It's like trying to cancel Reno 911 while simultaneously advocating for infinitely more heinous shit. Do you get it? Yeah, dudes will call you Osama bin Laden and then pearl clutch when you make fun of law enforcement. Is exactly right. People do this all the fucking time. Where's the clip of me laughing at the cop? I'm sure it's out there somewhere. It's very funny. Bro out here explaining how Too Mad jokes and cops shooting cops aren't the same. Yeah. Here's the most recent form of cop-on-cop violence. Apparently, there's a cop who tries to kill a dog and starts shooting the partner instead. They're claiming that this is safe for work. I don't know. Is this safe for work for real? I need to scroll through this, dude. So many of you sent this to me. There's one thing that cops like doing is shooting dogs, right?
Watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out! Are you okay? No, you shot me! Oh, God! Are you
What the fuck? Still good. Still good. Yo, that shit still bangs, dude. Yo, that's funny as fuck. Thank you for reminding me of a funny, highlightable, clippable moment from the stream. Are you okay? No, you shot me. Oh, Jesus Christ. If you can't laugh at that, I don't know what the fuck how you're living, okay? My friend, you are not living La Vida Loca, okay? I urge you to live Moss. Watch out! Shoots immediately. No! That's not real! Dude, what the fuck is... The fact that this is the counter those hate watchers have just shows how pathetic their grievances are with you. Just like their obsession with watching the top of the hour ad break every fucking time. Now that... the timing of that is good. And I read it like a fucking dumbass. I just got cooked. Where's the chatter who brought up the cop shooting me thing? Remember when the Destiny fans tried to outrage farm this? Yes. There's a reason why Destiny fans posted this on LSF, okay, and then brigaded it like they do with every other clip on this fucking broadcast, some of which does actually end up reaching terminal velocity and end up getting people to fucking yell at me, okay? But the reason why it didn't work for this is because people saw the clip and objectively thought it was hilarious. And I remember the posts on LSF where people were like, yeah, what's the problem here? Like, why are you guys mad at him? Yeah, sometimes the loser brigade does work, okay? You can catch me in a moment, especially if I'm saying some shit that you can misconstrue like I'm an anti-white hater or something, like an anti-white racist. Now, obviously, in the real world, most people are not going to give a shit, but in the Reddit world, anti-white racism is the most egregious of racism. It's the only racism that's good. So that kind of stuff will work on LSF. This didn't because it was objectively funny. Sometimes you realize you're out of even Reddit social acceptance. Exactly. I can't get over this chatter. You whacked out commies. You got anything to say about Uncle Joe now, huh? I can't get over the chatter. 18 hours apart. What happened, bro? Wait, Andre the Client? Was that the guy who said this? Oh, before I forget, I'm going to run the 3-minute ad break now. Oh, no, this is a different guy. This game goes hard. He's a game watcher. Please tell me you did not ban this guy, especially for saying the truth. You whacked out commies got anything to say about Uncle Joe now, huh? Is fucking exactly the type of motherfucker I want in this chat. He's a gaming watcher and he's possibly the one who brought up the cop video was Sean Did Something. Is that the guy? Let's see what he had to, what else he said after that. Oh, Lake McGrew, you fucking clapped these guys too quick. Oh, ew, never mind. Okay, that's fair. Oh, God, it's like these fucking lame asses. Fuck Hamas terrorists. Good. This guy's been coming in here. Destiny is so angry. Maybe he should smoke some weed and chill. Since 2018, he's coming in here. Peepo cheer. Pepega aim Iran. This looks like London Omega Lol. India smells like shit. China #1. People say communism is good. Omega Lol. D-fans make incel 4chan threads on their subreddit where they document how they do catfish operations with your pictures is fucking wild. There is no way that's real. Please send this to a moderator if this is correct, because that is absolutely insane. I don't want to believe that that is real. Hasan forcing himself. Oh, they delete it too. Hasan forcing himself to laugh at a cop being shot. LSF thread backfired. Time to post it on Twitter. They literally do it openly. Oh, God. When the thread backfires and they start upvoting it because they're like, this is objectively a funny video, they'll delete the thread on LSF and they'll try again later. This operation basically is like being fucking gang stalked, okay? But actually being gang stalked instead of thinking that you're being gang stalked. We need to make fun of these losers more often. For a very long time, I've tried not to, but like, it's just, you know, yeah, I do want the OG thread. It's embarrassing because like, I get why Destiny does this shit, but it's so embarrassing that his fucking community does it. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, you don't know me. Not only do you not know me, but like, you probably, if you didn't have such a fucking negatively framed perspective over me, you probably wouldn't even hate me. This kind of attitude is not healthy for you. They loved you and their dad loved you. Sen küçükken şişman mıydın kral? Evet. It is very, very embarrassing to be like this. Okay? It's very embarrassing to be like this towards a guy who doesn't know you exist. No matter how much he speaks to you in his like little messaging platform online. That's crazy. Hasan forcing him. Oh, even then, Hasan Piker when his pixel dog got deleted off Reddit. Yeah, see, LSF thread backfired. Time to post it on Twitter. Reddit as a whole has a huge hate boner for cops. If anyone thought this would be an own on Hasan, they're idiots. D laughed at when I asked him to stop. He only raped me harder. Some phrasing is just nuts. Wait, what the fuck? Destiny wanted us to stop. What the fuck are they saying? That is so deeply unwell, dude. What the fuck? Gross. Okay, I should have never looked at this. Oh, God. Anyway, I just wanted to simply show you how much I wanted to simply show you how much they work around the clock trying to like make narrative stick. And sometimes it does stick. But it almost always, like every single one of the cancellations that I've withstood, cancellations, which aren't real anyway, most of that comes from this community. And their fans are very, very dedicated. I wish they would use this much passion and this much resentment that they have towards someone that they don't know, towards something that's like objectively positive. Anyway, it's so goddamn weird and sad, dude. Let's get back to this.
That's not
really.
Okay, that's not. You're missing. That's not. Yeah, that's not true. Okay,
It's the same with the Ukraine shit. Someone said they stopped watching you because of your takes on your foreign policy, but when I asked what takes, they couldn't even say. Yeah.
It's okay. It's cool though. Yeah, the point being that if you ban people like that, moderates like that, there's going to be an.
But again, he's not moderate, and he went on stream and advocated for the killing of other people. That's not a moderate position.
I'm not sure about that.
Listen.
I've heard him talk. Hold on though.
No. I'm making a point.
Look how he's gotten more passionate defending Destiny than anything else so far. Typical Destiny dick rider. Literally lives and breathes for one thing only: fucking defending daddy. Okay. God damn, brother! Don't get so cranky. Like,
point here, you're conflating moderate points of view with extremism. And I'm telling you that. Listen,
so
it does. Yes, it doesn't.
That's insane.
No, it's not, because here's my fucking point. Here's my point, and you're not listening to it, and you're not putting two and two together. The reason he's an extremist, it's not because I think his political points are so far outside of the Overton window that they can't be considered. You know, let's say a moderate position on, give me the most moderate Destiny position that you can think of.
Moderate Destiny position. I mean, he has a lot of like.
What's a super moderate thing that you think he believes in?
I think super moderate and super cool. Like, I mean, he's against transphobia, I guess.
Okay, let's say you're against transphobia, right?
All right.
If your way of advocating against transphobia is gas chamber all the transphobes, that's not a moderate position, okay? Which would be an example of his opinions on the Black Lives Matter protesters who he was talking about on stream in that moment. He did not take a moderate position about not liking their presence there in the streets at that time. Okay. It was a very extremist position that advocated for their open murder.
Also, I mean, his like anti-transphobia extends only as far as like what he thinks is or reasonable enough to claim that he is progressive. Anyone and everyone that has spent a significant amount of time talking about trans women in sports, okay? Anyone and everyone that has done that is being ridiculous. Either they are deliberately hyper focusing on this narrative while claiming they're doing it for some like intellectual honesty, when in fact all they want to do is be transphobic as far as it's permissible, right? Even in a liberal space. Or they are very stupid and being duped by the dumbest right-wing people on the planet. And I've said this about even friends of mine that I've known for 2 decades at this point, like Anna Kasparian. When she hyper-focused on that same point of contention and doubled down and tripled down and found herself at the throes of reactionary sentiment when it comes to trans issues and trans-related issues. Yes. So, of course, I will say this about Destiny as well. It's just like a ridiculous conversation to have that is utterly irrelevant, and that's why you rarely ever hear about it nowadays as much. Anyway, we know he's already we know Destiny himself is transactional regardless in the things that he advocates for. He's openly admitted as such when he said he would have defended Vosh for his lolly folder if Vosh had not harmed him in some way.
Murder. So
okay.
that's
an
example. There's literally video of it.
They should be murdered. That's what he said. These activists should be murdered.
He said they should be MOWED down, wantonly.
Down.
Yeah.
Okay, we should fact check that, but that's just.
Wait, what do you mean we should fact check that, brother? Why are you defending a dude whose like work you're not even aware of? Is this the kind of attitude he brings to the fucking albums that he's reviewing? Does this guy review albums? That's why he got banned, homie. The fuck do you mean? I can't play the clip for obvious reasons, but come on, dog. And I'm being as charitable as possible by explaining the context behind why he said it, which I think makes it laughable still. But if you're going to bring up how he got banned and how you're arguing for it, then why the fuck don't you? Yeah, they didn't even ban him on that one. I think they departnered him. But it's ridiculous to me that you're talking about how he got deplatformed and saying he's moderate, and then like when Anthony Fantano brings up a thing that he certainly said, okay, you go, oh, we should fact check that. Yeah, we should. You should fact check it. Also, he didn't even know the train wasn't even deplatformed or banned at all, as a matter of fact. Like, Trainwrecks is still on this platform. He streams on this platform.
One of many examples where relatively moderate people, even moderately Republican people, got banned permanently, and not even necessarily for political points. It was like, I don't know, a nip slip or something like that. It was small things that eventually added up to there being a huge demand for this alternative platform.
The context was much worse than any word he said. He said white redneck militias should mow down these dipshit protesters. The point is this. I want to know if he's going to, like, if he finds that out, if he finds the actual, did he say N-word slip? No, he said nip slip, right?
Nip slip or something like that
Yeah, no, people aren't getting permits for nip slips. That's
it was small things that eventually added up to there being a huge demand for this alternative platform.
Listen, I'm gonna hit a bit of a reset.
It's also crazy because he's saying that there's a huge demand for this alternative platform for people that got banned for nip slips, when in fact, like, the same people that started that alternative platform quite literally were the ones who would be advocating to ban those people for nip slips, talking about the inconsistency. And then that platform that was created literally had fucking straight porn. I don't know why he's like talking about Twitch or Kick when he seemingly is oblivious to the facts on both of these issues.
Set button here because I'm more interested in some of your opinions here about like art and what you said in your video. To be honest.
All right.
I feel like we've gotten into the weeds of insanity here a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just want to like ask you here to kind of get to, because I see a lot of what you're saying in this video as kind of like an analog for a lot of Kanye fans feel around my Vultures 1 review and how people feel about the record generally.
Finally, they're talking about fucking Vultures.
And you seem to, you know, again, kind of like take issue with this idea that, you know, he's not being given credit despite the fact that he's a generational artist, and, you know, and you yourself acknowledge he said bad things and he's gone too far. And
the links in the description also said he's directly contributing to the rising number.
Yeah, no, I'm not denying any of that. You know, you've acknowledged that he's done and said bad things. You know, I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to understand from your point of view is like, to what extent in your mind do we like owe it to the art or owe it to the artist to acknowledge what we perceive to be their greatness, their artistry, their whatever, regardless of how bad they or the messaging in the artist is, or the messaging in the art is? Because hypothetically, let's say like, I don't know, there was like, I run a YouTube channel, I review music, and I stumble across what's possibly the most racist band ever. Their content is even full of like violent imagery and advocating for like, you know, hanging people, so on and so forth. But you know what, the production goes hard, and you know what, that Peggy beat on the record is insane. Like, do I owe it to the album to like talk about it and praise it and whatever, just because like I think it sounds kind of good?
That's an instance of where the problematic opinions are in the art. So that's.
But Kanye trivializing anti-Semitism and saying that he's not racist, he just has a preference and says that his wife is a reference.
You don't think that's a slippery slope?
Well, wait a second. You don't think trivializing anti-Semitism and kind of laughing off his anti-Semitic comments as if they aren't anti-Semitic is not going too far? After he said, I'm a Nazi and I love Hitler and
like
so on
talking
and so
about
forth.
murdering people and hanging people, I think it's.
Well, yeah, okay, that's which I think is fair to an extent. I just want to understand like where the border is, like how much racial hatred and anti-Semitism on a song or a record is too much for you. Like, if it's just one bar, is it okay? If it's just the chorus and the verses don't have it in there, like, can we let it slide?
I don't interpret any of his bars to be directly anti-Semitic. They may be referring to other people labeling him as anti-Semitic, and I don't want to be put in a position where I'm defending a fucking Nazi. Okay, I'm not defending.
Wait, so why did he make a YouTube video about it? I don't get it. Wait, how did he get to this position where him and Anthony are talking then?
Kanye in any way. But the point being is that like it's a big difference. You can't conflate the two. Like I have his bars written down actually.
Well, again, specifically, I'm not trying to say they're exactly the same. I'm trying to understand for you personally, how far is too far? And what I'm guessing is, you know, again, Kanye saying in light of the anti-Semitic comments that he's made, and as you said, you know, contributing maybe to this greater flow of hate crimes against Jews, laughing that off, saying like, yeah, man, I keep a few Jews on the staff. Yeah, man, I'm crazy and bipolar and anti-Semitic. Ha ha ha. You know, being like, oh, how could you say I'm anti-Semitic? I just fucked a Jewish bitch. Bah, 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 bah. Like, obviously for you, that's not too far. How much further than that could you?
So both you and Fantano can platform this dumbass and farm clout. Yeah, I'm farming so much clout off this. You don't even know, unimaginable amounts of clout.
To where you're just like, okay, man, he's actually doing too much.
Yeah, if he directly said
I don't know if you noticed, but like, I don't even think this dude is like, I think this dude's biggest problem is that he's kind of dumb. That's it. I don't think he's like a bad person in particular. He's making arguments that make him seem like a bad person, but I'm willing to bet that he's not a bad person, that he himself is simply maybe a little bit clout chasey, maybe a little bit of a genuine fan of Destiny and an orbiter or whatever. But I think that he's just more so misguided. I am not even, I'm not kidding. I think that if someone sat him down, someone that he respects and trusts, sat him down and talked to him privately and not on camera, they could probably clear up a lot of his opinions. And the reason why I say that is because like, there's a difference between someone who says like, oh, well, Jordan Peterson is a respected author and a psychologist, right? Saying that specifically to defend Jordan Peterson is different than saying, well, you know, Jordan Peterson's books actually helped me, and I think he might be a respected psychologist as well, but he's also transphobic. I think there's a difference there. Like, openly recognizing Jordan Peterson's flaws while simultaneously saying that he was helpful to him implies, in my opinion, that he is just simply misguided. Do you think Destiny or his fans offer this level of charitability towards you as you do to this dipshit? No, they don't, but that's not going to change my fucking perspective. This is literally why I started broadcasting on Twitch to begin with. This is why I became friends with Destiny originally to begin with. Because I thought that he was a perfect example of someone who had reformed, who had rehabilitated himself, who had actually sought within. I was wrong on Destiny's front, but that did not stop me from, that didn't change my fundamental principle that anyone and everyone can reform, okay? No matter how far gone they are. It's not going to stop me from trying. Many people forget that. I've been saying this for a very, very long time. That's simply the same reason why I tried to help Aiden Ross early on. Okay? That's why I love iDubbbz, Ethan as well. People that have actually changed course, recognized their mistakes in the past, and now advocate against those sorts of things, I think are very valuable, because every single person has a reactionary perspective deep down inside on one issue. We are all totally susceptible to the intersectionality of privilege. Privilege causes us to have blind spots. Okay? Privilege causes us to have blind spots. We all do it. We all have it. We are all a product of our environment. We all grow up in, and leftists should understand this, we all grow up in an environment that is deep down white supremacist, racist, transphobic, misogynistic. And therefore, of course, our framework is going to be shaped by those external factors. This is the reason why I always preach tolerance and charitability and try to change people's attitudes and try to change people's minds. I have my own weak moments where I lose sight of that charitability, but I still try to maintain it as best as I can. And yeah, to be honest, if Hasan took the same route as these other uncharitable dickheads, this would be a seriously different community and most of us wouldn't be sitting in this chat. I think so too. You can find videos on exactly this same perspective, this same framework, this same motivation back from like 2018 when I first started on this platform as well, by the way. So I showed you a bunch of videos from back then where my consistency speaks for itself. This is another issue that I've been very consistent on as well, which is why it hurts my soul when people are like, oh, Hasan is so intolerant to intolerance and his community is so fucking aggro. And there is truth to that. My community does get a little aggro at times. And what do? I yell at them when they do that.
Something anti-Semitic on the record, for sure. Just referencing the drama outside the art. For me personally, and I want to make this perfectly clear, I don't want to hold anybody else to this standard that you must separate the art from the artist. I don't believe in that at all. I think you should be free to do whatever you want. If you want to boycott the art, sure, do that. I think it's cool. I think it comes from a good place, a moral place. But I just think it's unfair. It's unfair to like try to force that on other people and unproductive to force that on other people.
But it's just arguing with other people and having opinions on the internet, forcing it on other people. Like nobody outside of like, you know, showing you their opinion on Twitter has any kind of mechanism to control the things that you say or listen to. Like, how is that making you do something that you don't want to do?
What? Sorry, can you repeat the point you just made?
You're saying that people shouldn't be sort of like forcing other people to, you know, what, not consume Kanye's music or whatever? Because he's saying,
okay, I'm gonna ask you this question. I actually want to know this. I'm coming from a completely good place. Like, what do you think your role in this exactly? Like, what are you trying to achieve with your sort of like holding Kanye accountable and going super hard on him and his fans? What exactly are you trying to? What are you trying to get to with that?
I mean, the question to him, the question I would present to this person would be, do you think Kanye is a Nazi or not? If the answer is yes, then you should understand what Anthony Fantano's position is, which is that he does not see any value in like seriously reviewing the work of someone who is a Nazi, whose fan base has now become a weird assortment of Nazis and Kanye dick riders who don't care that he's a Nazi. And then the normies, maybe the few normies that don't fucking know anything about all that or don't really give a shit, can't be bothered.
That.
I think I'm just kind of explaining the futility of just making a normal Kanye review around this record, because
I actually admire the fact that you called it unreviewable and you like didn't formally review the record. I admire that fact. I think that's great. I don't have a problem with that. But
isn't that the same argument as buying iPhone/clothes is supporting slavery? What do you mean? Isn't listening and talking about the Kanye album being bad the same as buying? Wait, what? Dude. There is no alternative to a phone or a phone that isn't made by some level of exploitation, hyper exploitation in the third world. Yes, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. You know what I mean? But ultimately, a shirt covers you even if you don't need it, I guess. But the same cannot be said about like reviewing, not even like listening to, but reviewing a musician's work once they have openly said that they are a Nazi who loves Hitler. music could be more important than a shirt, for example. Yes, it can be, I guess. But you're talking about a musician who's saying that they love Hitler. Is he that important to you? Like, I don't understand this. There is no ethical consumption under capitalism does not mean that you should go out of your way to be unethical in your consumption. What the fuck? I don't understand. He's equating music to other products, but those other products are much closer to a necessity than music. Yeah. And it's like there are valid market substitutes regardless. Like at some point, it's virtually impossible, if not entirely impossible, to purchase a smartphone or a computer that does not have conflict minerals in it. Okay? Whereas there are an infinite number of market substitutes to music. Listening to music is nowhere near as important. Listening to this specific artist is nowhere near as important to you as I assume having a smartphone would be. It's like if there was an iPhone and then there was a I hate Jews phone and you were like, I need to have the I hate Jews phone because that's really important to me. After all, you've purchased a t-shirt that was made by slaves. Like it's like kind of shocking to make this argument. That's not a good example and you know it. I'm not talking about buying stuff. I'm comparing things like buying Starbucks to music. I'm still a little bit confused to the argument that you're trying to present here. By the way, I think it's a pretty good argument that I made, but you can explain to me why that's not a good argument, maybe. However, here's another thing, okay? If you want to, in the privacy of your own home, if you're like so desperate to listen to Kanye, go ahead. I mean, look, the Carnival song is on Rap Caviar. When I say, Alexa, play Rap Caviar on Spotify, that's the first song that comes up. I even myself have said it's not a bad song. I'm not saying that like you're automatically a Nazi if you've heard Kanye's music. That would be a ridiculous statement to make. Okay? Nobody is stopping you. As a matter of fact, the song is, at least that one is quite popular. Bro, this is the Rap Caviar. Shut the fuck up. That's not the point here. Yeah. I don't give a shit about Kanye. I'm just trying to understand your line. It seems like supporting slaves by supporting Starbucks is worse than supporting an idiot like Kanye. Supporting slaves by supporting Starbucks is not a decent analogy here at all. And you've also gone all over the place. Let's just stay on the smartphone, okay? Let's just stay on the smartphone because it's like so we can have a consistent conversation. If there was a Starbucks equivalent or a smartphone equivalent out there who was like, I'm a smartphone that loves Adolf Hitler, and you were like, I got to get that smartphone instead of any of the other fucking market substitutes, then I'd be like, yeah, you're kind of weird for doing that, dog. What the fuck? Do you not understand this? That's the point. And you can't turn around and be like, listen, actually, well, you've bought a t-shirt that was made by slaves, so you're no better. It's just a way to do copium. Smartphone is essential and music is not. That's a bad example. It's not a bad example. It's a good example. I'm actually trying to beef up your argument. I'm steel manning it, saying that music is essential. Because you brought up the point that music is as essential to some people as it is earlier before you switched positions. You literally said music is as essential to some people as a t-shirt even. So I'm working off of your argument. I'm steel manning your argument. If music is essential, like you said it was, okay, and there are plenty of market substitutes, why are you going out to bat for this one specific type of music from this one musician that has openly said they fucking love Adolf Hitler? Okay, then so I am pro-slavery because I buy an iPhone. Oh my God. You're pro Kanye West in spite of his anti-Semitism. Okay? That's it. And it feels like you're upset with that reality. It feels like you're upset with that reality. So you're trying to be like, well, it's okay because like I do other unethical consumptions, other purchases of products that were procured through unethical means as well. It's very odd. That's the point of this kid's video. He said Kanye's opinions suck, but his album's pretty good, and it shouldn't be crazy to say that. I think it's not great to say that. I agree with Anthony Fantano on that. I literally don't give a fuck about Kanye, but your argument makes no sense. Oh, you're in here. Oh, never mind. I got it. I just understand that almost everything I buy unnecessarily is terrible, so I see zero difference. Got it. Okay. Yeah. No, this is something I see that's very common with debate pedophilia. This is the maximum level of debate lord or debate pervertry, which is the false notion that like, well, you consume animal products, so it should be fine to also sexually assault an animal. Okay? How do you think milk is produced? It's bad veganism debates, okay? And I hear it from the likes of Destiny, and I've heard similarities from the likes of Vosh as he has tried to argue against the ethics of procuring certain materials through child slavery while comparing it to child pornography. Okay? And the point is, because there is virtually no way to avoid unethical consumption, does not mean that you should go out of your way to create further harm. Okay? It's very bad argumentation in general, and it makes you look like a weirdo. It makes you look like you're defending Kanye West, even if you're not trying to. You're doing a very bad job. This is the debate for a version of philosophy nerds talking about age of consent. Foucault, the Dersh. I love that you put Foucault and the Dersh. in the same conversation as we were talking about philosophy. Sad that being a Kanye liked is better than being a debate bro. I don't know what you're. Yeah, equally geniuses in the field of debating for debating the ethics around pedophilia. Is an argument too focused on the logic being consistent that it fails to realize the optics is dog shit? It's also not even logical half the time. It just comes across as logically consistent immediately. And if you dive into it a little bit further, you recognize that like the real world is more nuanced than that. Here, I'll give you an example. Now that we've been talking about Destiny, one example that Destiny has always held on to in his endless conquest for white people to be able to say the N-word is the lie that he told his audience that they channel regularly. They say, I agree with Destiny on being able to say the N-word in private. Okay, this is an abject lie. The debate that we had on this ended up with Destiny basically saying, what if I was able to say the N-word trapped in the confines of space, surrounded by absolutely nobody? Would that be harmful then? This is an exaggerated phenomena that does not exist in the real world at all. In that circumstance, yes, the harm that you are creating by saying it is, of course, insignificant. It doesn't exist. But that's not how it works in the real world, and that's not the reason why you want to say it in private. Even then, it's very odd. But it basically is the same exact principle behind, like, what if you had to say the N-word to stop a nuclear bomb from going off? Okay? This is yet another circumstance where people who love debate and see debating as a virtue in and of itself only care about like whether it comes across as a good own in the marketplace of ideas. Anyway. Yeah, they call it limit testing, or we're just trying to find your boundaries, which is not intelligent at all. It only comes across as intelligent for someone who is attempting a gotcha, and for people who are stupid enough or are motivated in their reasoning enough to want to find something that is permissible, want to find an opportunity so that it's permissible. I'm sure the clip is out here somewhere. But yeah, that is unironically what his big gotcha was against me, and why his fans still to this day say that Destiny and Hasan agree with one another on being able to say the N-word in private. But of course, people understand that that's not the case. Why is the N-word debate the gateway debate topic? Because a lot of people who love debates happen to be, people who shouldn't say the N-word and feel like it's incredibly restrictive that they can't. And they feel like it's a pretty good entry point into arguing about this shit. Basically the same subject. It's the same reason as to why so many debate lords end up inevitably defending arbitrary nature of age of consent laws, for example. Or actually, it's a phebophilia. If you think I'm wrong about that, that also exists. Destiny has made the actually that's ephebophilia. It's very different than pedophilia argument.
It's like, besides that, there was a lot of like, I saw you fighting on Twitter with with Kanye fans 24/7. Like, it was incessant. It was to an extreme degree. And I think that was kind of unproductive and kind of ended up to more attention being created around the album, where people who maybe wouldn't have listened to the record were like, "Well, what is this drama?"
I'm not under any delusion that there's anything that I could do to bring Kanye any more or any less attention.
Okay, so what is you don't have, so with you're just fighting with people out of it's fun for you? That's
well, I'm definitely calling it out, and I'm definitely pointing out that the well has been poisoned to the point where doing a normal review of his stuff is pretty much futile. The reason I was fighting with Kanye fans is because a lot of them are kind of reiterating the straw man of my argument, which they think is Kanye bad, can't review Kanye, Kanye bad. When my actual argument is that his actions and his statements and his behavior have either solidified people against him or solidified the cult of fans around him to the point where you can't really have a level-headed discussion around him and his music without being called either biased or just being looked at by people who, you know, rightly see what he's saying and doing as disgusting and thinking like, well, even if it is good to an extent, I don't want to affiliate with it. I mean, you yourself said in your video that, personally, I mean, you know, look, I think you've come across here, even though we disagree, as, you know, like, somebody who's at least approachable to an extent. I think it was kind of beneath you in your video for you to kind of like, you know, put that section in where you were like, well, I mean, you know, I'll listen to the album because I'm not Jewish. It's not a big deal to me. I mean, I think that was kind of a super unflattering moment for you. And
yeah, I get what you were trying to say, but I wasn't necessarily talking, I mean, I was talking about myself, but I was talking about like the mentality. The point was like trying to show people the mentality of people who listen to the Kanye record. Like,
well, what I'm saying is like, you understand yourself that there are people who see his comments and see the content of the record and would rightly be personally disgusted because of their Jewish background or whatever and would want to avoid it. Yeah. So anybody, you know, like I said in my video, who comes from that background would rightly look at me even saying like, hey, there's some pretty decent stuff about some of the songs on this album, which I've acknowledged on stream and so on and so forth. But rightly, those people would see that commentary and think like, well, ultimately, what does that matter? Because like, obviously his commentary on my heritage and my faith are so disgusting that I wouldn't want to affiliate myself with it anyway. So it's like, you do you kind of understand how, you know, doing a normal review of this record kind of puts me in a position where I'm between two sides of people that don't really want to hear anything critical about it to begin with?
I like what you did. I'm not against what you did. I'm not like,
I'm not saying you are. I'm just asking you if you sort of understand why I would feel that way.
I understand why you feel that way. That's what I started off with. I understand why you feel the way you feel. And I think it's okay for you to feel the way you feel.
This is my favorite type of shit, rotisserie, spin it. My favorite type of shit is being like, listen, dude, I agree with you, but I have to incessantly debate you. It's like, all right, what's the point then? All right, we agree. If you understand it, then you agree. Like, right? I think. The fuck?
The question is, how do we combat that? How do we combat this issue and like come to like, I don't know, a productive solution?
Yeah,
like,
that's exactly the same energy as that one chatter who's like incessantly trying to be like, no, I don't even care about Kanye. I think he's anti-Semitic. Who gives a fuck?
Come to a compromise of sorts and not just like continue bashing, shitting on like everybody who said anything positive about the record, and vice versa. Those people who, the Kanye fans, just shitting on you. You're a fucking idiot. You're not a good critic. Like it's both sides of the coin are unproductive. Even though one may be more morally correct than the other, both are unproductive and eventually lead to more polarization.
I recently stumbled into Destiny subreddit and they were openly claiming you said it was okay for Nazis to invade other countries even though the full quote and video with context was posted multiple times and downvoted. Your meaning was obvious, but they just wanted to be delusional, full crazy town, and the opposite of his whole objective truth shtick. Yes.
Polarization. and that's my issue with this.
I think you're just.
Let me finish. The reason why I made the whole.
Why am I addressing Destiny more lately? Your previous policy of ignoring losers were better, in my opinion. I think I'm human at the end of the day, and like it did start getting to me, and I realized like maybe it's okay to just like every now and then offer additional context, because there are plenty of people even in this community that have no idea, that didn't know who the fuck this dude was, and they stumble across his content on TikTok or whatever, and they're like, oh wow, this guy's making some good arguments against like some fucking weirdo like red pilled guy, and then they stumble across like a shit ton of weird completely for nefarious purpose negatively slanted commentary on me, and then they go, oh my god, I had no idea this Hasan guy was like just a total fucking asshole, and they're misled. So I want those people to basically understand that no, like this person has a nefarious agenda that is purely spite driven, that is rooted within anger, and he is not some arbiter of like intellectual honesty. It's getting to a point where it basically is, it's getting to a point where it basically has turned into a lot of these people that used to love the IDW, the intellectual dark web, okay? That the intellectual dark web, they used to present themselves as like gladiators in the marketplace of ideas. Like I used to shit on those guys as well. I'm trying to present this in as good faith as I possibly can. You're not a lord, you're Jank's nephew. Yes. Destiny and fans will jump on you for admitting that, though, and think they've won. That's how trolls work. They will clip this and use it against you, but you're doing the right thing to fight to debunk all the bullshit they spread about you. Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, I have to correct the record. Those people tried to find my address after I defended both of you and Ethan on the H3 sub. Yeah, they go pretty nutty mode with it, too. If you find yourself to be a progressive, okay, and you find yourself in the throes of like Destiny's commentary, then ask a little bit. Just seek a little bit further. Just look, just scratch the surface a little bit, and you will recognize that it is a little odd that he has way more respect and reverence for someone like Ben Shapiro, who is objectively worse for the United States of America, if not the entire planet, with his commentary, than someone such as myself. Why does he have so much smoke for those on the left, no matter how big or small they may be, versus someone like Ben Shapiro, who is objectively infinitely more influential and powerful and has like actually bad opinions, and not opinions that have been massaged for you to think they are bad? I personally believe that it's because Destiny and others are not interested in any sort of moral consistency, but instead are basically mercenaries. Like they just like coming across like they're winning an argument. It's fun for them. That's number one. And they're also trying to have the stupid optics-based conversation about being mean. It's the white moderate who prefers negative peace. You're no better than the Nazi because you were mean. These people are fucking insufferable losers, man. Yeah, and they won't stop debating. They love debating. Like you mentioned, about 40% of both sides of a debate aren't going to change their mind. I wonder how many decentrists you can actually reach. Yeah, I mean, they mostly just thrive on subreddits, but they are very parasocial.
Whole video, and the approach I take usually with my videos is even though obviously I have a certain, I'm not like a fence-sitting centrist. I have a certain ideology.
Your self-made Jinx nephew, he just boosted your position a lot. What? I agree with Fantano, but he is bald. Yeah, my friend's boyfriend is a Destiny fan. When he found out I watched you, he was afraid or unwilling to call me out, perhaps because we were in the real world. He's a great guy. Otherwise, I think he's been misled. Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. I do find it somewhat dangerous. Yeah. Look, I mean, this is it. This is where a lot of it stems from. He literally ranted in 2019 about you, the most honest he's ever been about his feelings, when I had like 300 fucking average 300 average viewers. But the reason why I've been talking about him more is because, like, it's not even necessarily releasing a pressure valve. It's specifically about like people who masquerade as progressives, and I think shepherd people that basically shepherd others into this notion that they are progressive while feeding them a shit ton of reactionary commentary. And I don't like that. I didn't like that when Jordan Peterson was doing it. I didn't like that when back in like 2017, 2016, you had the phenomena of people who called themselves classical liberals who were the real progressives. That's what Dave Rubin used to say. For those of you who don't remember, because you were probably oblivious to Dave Rubin, as someone who worked with him, a lot of those guys, including even Sargon of Akkad, used to say that they're classical liberals, that they actually are the real liberals, and that leftists are fake liberals. They're false liberals. And they would spend all of their time shitting on those that were on their side, I guess. But, you know, they were, yeah, the SJWs were the faux-gressives or the regressives. That's what they used to call them. Tim Pool, for the longest time, presented himself as a unbiased centrist who was very progressive in many issues. Now, obviously, we look at these guys now with today's lenses and we go, that's so funny to say that. These guys were never liberal at all. And at the time, I spent a whole lot of time explaining to people like, no, these guys aren't real liberals. They're not real progressives. So yes, I do think that Destiny is as bad as those charlatans like Dave Rubin. I do. I think that he's doing the exact same thing that I have seen. He's doing the exact same thing that I've seen from all of those other people time and time again. He's just doing it now with a different flavor on it. Yeah. And I think that's very nefarious, and I think that's very dangerous. It's dangerous when someone claims to be a progressive or claims to be a liberal, claims to be a moderate Democratic Party supporter or whatever, okay, while simultaneously pushing a lot of nefarious positions that I consider to be reactionary. That's it. Even though you're open to discussing it, I do think it would behoove chat to stop feeling compelled to inform you what's going on in these negative parts of the internet and to the good faith members. Yes. These guys claim that they're progressive and literally almost exclusively go after with vicious cancellation campaigns, attempted cancellation campaigns on every single person that is even a little bit more progressive than they are. At a certain point, you got to go, what the fuck are these guys doing? But due to the thing that I mentioned earlier, the intersectionality of privilege and the intersectionality of blind spots that come from said intersectionality of privilege, there are always going to be certain lapses of judgment. No one is going to be perfect. And when you're caught in that blind spot, you sometimes find yourself in the comfortable waters, in the warm hug that you receive from a community of like-minded individuals who are saying, no, you're not wrong, actually. See, you can still be a progressive. You can still consider yourself to be a progressive and also think that, like, trans people are, delusional and gross across the board for wanting to participate in sports, and that this isn't simply a really weird way to try and reaffirm transphobic positions, even though it is utterly irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. And what is infinitely more relevant to the existence of trans people in the United States of America is the shit ton of anti-trans bills that are being presented in state houses, right? No, you're right. People find themselves in the comfort of bigotry, and I think that it is infinitely more nefarious when someone doesn't openly admit to being a conservative and is doing that from the position of a supposed liberal. How can I be a bad guy? I'm going out and door knocking for the Democratic Party. I'm a liberal. I'm a real liberal. These guys are the worst people, actually. I'm door knocking for the Democratic Party. I'm the most progressive. I'm coming at it from a position of authority. Yeah. Dennis Prager once famously told Dave Rubin that. He said he was really useful for the conservative movement because he is.
And certain political opinions I hold, I always try meeting people in the middle, right? I want to approach my videos with to a degree where, like, a Republican could watch it and look at it like, okay, this guy is not just like completely saying fuck you. He's actually made some good points. Maybe I should think about this a little bit, you know? And that's all I'm trying to do with my videos at the end of the day. Now, I can concede to the fact that a lot of my thumbnails and a lot of my titles are like inflammatory, like baity, disgusting to a degree. And yeah, that's unfortunate, but unfortunately, that's the best way to drive people to my content. And I feel like my content being as nuanced and as unbiased and as good faith as it is, I don't have a problem with like baiting people into watching it when that might give them a more neutral perspective on things. Radicals from both sides. So that's how I live with myself at the end of the day.
Okay, I mean, I'm sorry to pop your bubble here a little bit, but I mean, I'm sorry, but you personally are not unbiased in any sense, and you're not presenting an unbiased perspective in, from what I can see, any of your content.
I take that back. I can see that.
That's not the case. And
what
you even expressed just now is a bias of sorts, because the thing is, you know,
I take that back. I'm not unbiased. I'm not unbiased.
Okay.
Sorry to say that.
But let me finish my point. I let you finish yours.
Okay.
Even embracing centrism for centrism's sake is a bias of sorts. You know, just because you're landing in the middle of 2 points doesn't mean you're unbiased or that it's effectively the best option in that scenario. I mean, when you're between the polar opposite positions of we should, have segregation and we should allow everybody and anybody to sort of live freely in modern society, we don't try to land somewhere in the middle of those 2 points because it makes us feel good and fuzzy inside, because we're like, well, I'm reasonable and I see the points of both sides. No, the correct position is we allow people to be free. Like, that's the correct position.
The correct position is you don't have to see the top of the hour ad break at the top of the hour. Okay? And you must subscribe for that reason. Aw Candles, thank you for the 5 community gifted subs. It makes sense that D is not a liberal aside from some of his political takes. He's also said that growing up in the household, he was very conservative. Obviously, people can change and whatnot, but I do think that the conservative thinking and perspective is stuck with him at a deep level, making him not an actual progressive liberal or whatever. Professor Tech, thank you for the 5 gifted subs as well. It's just like, listen. Fantano is blasting here. He's doing a great job. And he is great. There are plenty of people who grew up in conservative families here, okay, in this community. The point is, you have to combat reactionary thinking. Because reactionary thinking in a reactionary society is very comforting. Very comforting to not push for change. It's very comforting to not look at everything that you've known your entire life and say, maybe this is wrong. Maybe there's actually a better way to exist. It's a very tough job. That change must come from within, and you have to constantly check yourself. That's it.
Position. Like there are points where centrism doesn't make sense. I understand.
I'm not saying I'm a centrist. The way I'm approaching it is from a place of understanding and trying to reach.
Where's the 2019 post? If you want to understand it, here's the 2019 post from his from the DGG chat. It's not Destiny's fucking upbringing that causes him to feel this way. Okay? There's someone was bringing up the post earlier. It's spite. It's being an opportunist. That's why he completely rewired his commentary. And if you look back at that one brief period where we would collaborate from time to time, okay? If you look back at almost all of his takes from back then and compare it to what he's talking about now, it is almost the exact diametrical opposite. He's defending. Go back. I mean, a lot of that stuff is just out there. You can find it if you are interested. He's debating the exact opposite side of the argument now. It's not just on my YouTube channel. It's on his YouTube channel too. If you look back at things that Destiny used to debate in 2018, versus what he says now, you will see. Chatter did not lie. 2023 versus
striking ambulances, border crossings, and residential buildings.
Okay, again, remember, every building in Gaza is a residential building. Every building in Gaza is a civilian building. There are no military installations in Gaza. They always operate out of civilian infrastructure. I wish people would say that. Just mention that. Hamas operates out of civilian infrastructure. It's all civilian infrastructure. Just saying, okay? Jesus. Hamas does use human shields. The way that she makes that sound impossible, that's not impossible. Hamas, they'll literally blatantly state that they use human shields. They do that. That's not a myth. That's not a rumor.
If we're killing
what about if we talk about America supporting Israel that bombs hospitals and bombs schools, dog? It doesn't matter if the suicide...
You know they bomb hospitals and schools because terrorist organizations in Palestine put their freaking weapons there. Do
you think Palestinian sick people and children care about that? Do you think that a Palestinian child or the family of a Palestinian child?
Israel care about that.
But dude, the bombs don't make, the little shitty fucking RPGs don't even make it over the walls because Israel is one of the most sophisticated anti-missile dome systems in the fucking world. You're really comparing the military power of these two states? Come on, dude.
No. Okay, I'm saying the reason they're not just sitting there bombing hospitals.
You can do that for every single thing that he's debating right now and has debated over the past 2 to 3 years since Destiny and I had a falling out. Okay, it's been almost 6 years at this point, 5 years at this point. Okay, and the reason why he doesn't even remember those positions from back then is because back then it was also still surface level. You just agreed with it, so you thought, oh, he's brilliant. That's it. It was still surface level back then. It was still just to win an argument. That's the point. That's it. That's the point. You could do this for every single thing.
Hospitals and schools. You can't honestly believe they're just sitting there like, you know what, let's fucking bomb a hospital.
Israel has literally been on record manufacturing reasons in the past to march into the West Bank and fucking exterminate people, dog. What do you mean?
Okay, listen, I'm not also going to sit around here and pretend that they are bombing hospitals and schools for shits and giggles. At least admit that you have terrorist organizations that specifically set up their weapons places and their attack places in hospitals and schools simply to get Western media's attention. At least admit that.
Yeah, sure, they probably do.
Okay, there you go. Thanks. So you're
That doesn't mean I'm okay with bombing hospitals and fucking schools, though. Damn. Whoa.
Like, how does that happen? How does that happen? What happened to cause the falling out? I'm missing out on crucial lore. I mean, there's like hour-long videos that documentaries that his fan base has made to like greatly massage the narrative, but the real fallout is literally here. I'll just show you the fucking logs. It's impossible to fucking. I don't know. I'm sure someone in here has it, like ready to go, fired up. People are asking. I think they deserve to know. This is pointless. He'll say he learned and grew over time. What the fuck? Oh, here it is. You found it. This is from 5 years ago. Do I go bottom to top? No, top to bottom. 2019, 0709. Okay, rant memes. I have had to deal with a lot of really annoying optics-related shit recently on Twitch. I've operated on my own in this political space for years. How fucking long? I got shit from so many people when I would talk politics on Twitch. Every live streamer's chat fucking hated when I talk politics. This happened in Asmongold's chat. It happened in LSF. It happened in Greek's chat. It happened every single large show I was on. And I had zero help or zero support aside from some of my community for any of this. And even when I decided to start going on to big podcasts to be a progressive voice, even my own community was divided on this. Don't platform these people. Don't argue with them. Don't give them a voice. And I did all this for years without any help or assistance. For someone to come on to Twitch, he's talking about me, write all of my contacts to get on the shows and podcasts, and then take advantage of the much better space that I've been cultivating almost on my own. Here. Oh, I didn't realize the camera was still hiding his face. Okay. For someone to come on to Twitch, write all of my contacts to get on the shows, and then take advantage of the much better space that I've been cultivating almost all on my own, and then say, oh, you just got into politics for the past few years, lol. That's pretty fucking irritating to hear. Because I did say that to him, because that is what he did. He was like some fucking libertarian loser who used to say the N-word openly all the fucking time. And then he became more progressive and started tackling, the JonTron debate and all these other people that were like supposedly anti. He was just like duking it out with those guys, and he was doing a great job at the time. Like when all those articles are just getting written, people like Hasan are creating a safer space on Twitch. Lol, I've done this for the past 3-4 years on my own. I don't get a salary from some company or some support from investigators or some shit. He's talking about me like getting a salary from the Young Turks, and also from having like journalists who hype me up, because like investigative reporters that hype me up at the time. I've done a lot of this work on my own for so fucking long. The idea of someone coming into the safe space that I've created almost on my own because of my relentless presence on all of these shows, and then try to accuse me of not belonging here, lol, seems pretty shitty. Do you see why, though? I knew this was always going to happen this way. Do you know how frustrating it's been over the past year watching people in my fan base bleed over to Hasan because we share the same conclusions, even though I knew the entire time we're fundamentally different? I always said in gentler ways, oh, we're a lot different. I think we approach arguments way differently. I think we do things way differently. But the idea that we're going to be grouped together on Twitch just because we were both progressive is so frustrating that now I have to sit here and take the blame for any bad argument he puts forth or pair him in debates or to be expected to be on the same page with him. Like he's acting like I'm literally roasting his entire career, and I wasn't. I just watched a whole video of his, and I said I disagree with what he said. This is after he ad hom me like crazy. He's made multiple comments about the fucking all women, going to New Zealand, etc. multiple times. This was when I was joking as his friend, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? About him going to New Zealand to fuck a fan's girlfriend, who he then made his wife, by the way. The talk fast, Ben Shapiro, etc., sociopath, etc., like all the same style insults I hear from the right all the time, because at the time I said he is no different than Ben Shapiro. And I never returned to the same to him. Jank's nephew, nepotism, frat boy, etc. I've never gone into these types of ad homs. I've introduced him to multiple podcasts, Trainwrecks, Raj Patel, and multiple real-life friends he has now, Pokemon, Offline TV, and helped him grow his fan base when we started talking on Twitch. That's where a lot of his fans come from now. And to get this much shit back because I wanted to disagree with a video, meh, okay, I'm done. Crean says, I would say the, oh, you just got into politics for the last few years line would be just the most hurtful. It's pretty much what Train called Hasan for jumping on the progressive bandwagon when they had their spat, and Hasan justifiably flipped out over it. Is that Patel thing true? No, it's not. On the other hand, Hasan has consistently credited Destiny with giving him help on Twitch and has always tried to mention Destiny to other leftist commentators or defend Destiny from people who would say how problematic his past was. This is also true. No, Crean is just born in 1988. He's not a Nazi, you fucking weirdos. He's also a long-term community member here that actually came from Destiny's community. He's literally one of our Reddit mods now. If you want to understand where his animosity comes from and why he like restructured his entire fucking political worldview and collaborated with the people that he collaborated with, while he was like a champion for progressive causes seemingly in like 2018 to 2019, well, there you go. This is an admission, as great of an admission as you can possibly get. I've never really brought this up before because there's no reason for it. Oh, here was my average view count at the time while the vlogs were happening. 2,929. That was too much for him. He was hemorrhaging viewers into my community. This is, yeah, you will never witness this lore again. Seems like he's just mad you threw him under the bus after he helped get you started. This is the laughable notion that his fans cling on to. Okay? You are conveniently ignoring the, I don't get a salary, and that he's done this work for so long and now he's bleeding viewers to my audience. If he had not done this, if he had not done any of the fucking last couple of years, like, I wouldn't have an issue with him. There are plenty of people in the orbit of Destiny that I have no issues with, despite the fact that they cling on to him as hard as they possibly can. Okay? plenty of people who are his supposed friends until they get burned, and then his community will make them the worst enemy of all time as well. There are people who used to be his friends who are no longer his friends. As long as their output is decent, as long as they're like championing progressive causes and whatnot, I don't care. And for the past 5 years, this is the major motivator for why he's made hundreds of videos about me. Not because we have like real fucking genuine disagreements or anything. If he's so progressive, then we probably shouldn't have real genuine disagreements. He has tried to present me as someone who morally lucked into my positions, that I have no moral underpinning for the arguments that I present, that I actually work from a conclusion, all of which are, of course, abject lies. I've become also his cash cow, his primary cash cow for a very long time. So, that's the case. That's why I joked the other day and said I'm literally paying his child support and he should thank me for it. One day, I'm sure some intelligent person with an honest worldview will look back at this and make a YouTube video about it that isn't like stuck inside of Destiny's asshole or a part of his community. Because currently, as it stands, because I always left this alone and I never really talked about it, most of the space is filled to the brim with like orbiters that make these like really fucking one-sided videos that they present as though it's truthful. People have, and Steven DMCA's them. I did not know that. Yeah, Tignatius D, in my entire time, you've never talked about it so really long. Yeah. What was that one video you mentioned towards the end? Why did you get on a shit list? It was a Kamala Harris video where he said, because I shit on Kamala Harris, he basically tried to debate that like Kamala Harris had not gotten parents arrested for truancy, or that he didn't try to, and that debate basically was the first nail in the coffin, not the final one. The N-word debate was the final nail in the coffin. But the Kamala Harris conversation was, it concluded with him basically saying, I wouldn't call the cops on a rapist. Okay? Like all of the worst tactics, all of the worst debate tactics that I routinely criticize whenever reactionary people push for it, he brought up. Yeah. The Kamala Harris conversation, he said, I wouldn't call the cops on a rapist, and then asked if I would call the cops on a black guy just walking by my house and all this random shit. And all the while, his much larger community at the time was championing this as like some intellectual prowess. Okay? And even after that, I was still, just like I was to XQC for quite a long ass fucking time, for far too long, I would say, was trying to be as charitable as I possibly can. Okay? Even after all this shit happened. But the true final nail in the coffin was the N-word debate, where he had to say the N-word. He had to say it as a white guy in private. And that he knew exactly who to say the N-word around as a white guy in private. And therefore, it's like, okay. That's the context of the what a fucking liar clip. That's where that what a fucking Weasley little liar clip comes from. Yes. Do not use this subreddit as a platform to harass streamers is so funny. Let's take a look at this. Hasan. Hasan says Destiny should be thanking him for paying his divorces and his kid. Why isn't Hasan canceled? Hasan gets community noted. Hasan's chat. Why does Hasan never talk about Kurds as much as Palestinians? Hasan defends from the river to the sea. As a rare Hasan Destiny enjoyer, I have to say his Jank Hasan debate was blackpilled me on Hasan. Holy shit. Hasan responds to Erudite. Hasan's video on the Houthis is terrible and full of lies. Effort post. Elon versus Hasan. America bad. Hasan goes mask off and says it. Hasan criticizes anti-Semitism. Yo, why do we hate Hasan so much? One vote. Read his subreddit for even just a few minutes. He has bred an evil, terrorist-supporting, tanky community. He's a bad person. He's a stupid person. He's an arrogant person. And he's somehow extremely popular. I think if just one of those things weren't true, he probably wouldn't be nearly as hateable. Don't forget, horrifically cowardly. Hasan Piker, capitalist. This bitch was advocating for people to enact violence upon perceived Nazis and then had the golden opportunity to beat the shit out of one in a legal and sanctioned way and at the same time raise money for a charity. He refused, and the reason he gave was, why would I fight him? This dude's a literal Nazi, bro. How the guy has any genuine fans boggles the mind. Do you think these guys are genuinely sane people that actually have a vested interest in any kind of political perspective? Or do you think this is a community that is simply built on anger and animosity for one reason or another towards one particular streamer that they believe occupies pretty much a massive space in their mind, but one particular streamer that they believe like is the singular force of evil in the world? Person has created a Reddit account specifically with my name. This is just scratching the surface of this insanity. Okay? Why the fuck would I platform a pedophile Nazi like Sam Hyde by appearing alongside of him in a boxing ring? Are you out of your fucking mind? This should make sense to every single person with like literally 3.5 fucking brain cells. A dude with credible pedophilia allegations and a fucking Nazi. Why would I ever go to a sanctioned boxing match and stand alongside him? This is one of the dumbest fucking arguments that these guys make because it shows that they have no real fucking intellectual honesty or decency. Why didn't Hasan platform a Nazi to a broader audience? It's crazy. This is what I've been dealing with for the past 5 years. Endless waves of this. Ironic to say, do not use the subreddit as a platform to harass streamers when it's a subreddit dedicated specifically to harassing one particular streamer. Understand why so many people in this space steer clear, don't mention this person or his community because they're fucking objectively terrified, understandably terrified of getting on their wrong side. because getting on their wrong side means being endlessly harassed. $1,000 very normal people in a certain chat room. Hey, watching this segment. Exactly. And yes, it does go beyond Reddit comments. It does sometimes have a real world impact. Yeah, Aiden Ross's community almost ended Destiny's and his family's life in a few minutes. They thought Aiden watchers were soft like us. Yeah, Aiden Ross's community is the only community I've seen so far that immediately operated like Destiny's community, and they duked it out. Andrew Manuel, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Ultimately, though, the reason why I rarely ever talk about this kind of thing, or haven't, if you've been in here, yeah, they still have these weirdos following and doing this shit to Daff, for example, because she's my friend from the cracker drama. I've been around since before the Fallout era that you went over. Mostly the stream has stayed off completely away from him on a topic because of the toxicity involved. It's been nice. I don't think it's ever going to get better from his community's end because they're hyper online. I know. What triggered it today? What triggered it today was Anthony Fantano debating a Destiny fan. Look, ultimately, yeah, they literally latch on to all your friends. They've been popping up in Maya's comment section too. The goal is to make me a toxic element. Like, so toxic that you can't, like, make anyone and everyone that says any kind of slight criticism hype it up as hard as possible, whether it's Abba and Preach or whoever else, and then make me a toxic entity. Make it so that if you're collaborating with me, we will make your life hell. If there's an opening, like with me and Ethan, for example, abuse that opening as hard as possible. If there is no such opening, you can see this personally. Like, they used to shit on Ethan non-fucking stop. Like, literally non-stop. All the time. All the time. Why? Because we had a show together and we're friends. And then the moment that they saw like an opening, immediately they were like, we love Ethan. Ethan is our favorite content creator. I've been an Ethan fan for years and years and years. They infiltrated his fucking subreddit. Yeah. The fact that it is community members that watch you but have to keep it a secret, that should be studied. Yeah. The best example is when Daily Dose didn't want to answer if he liked you while he was on NMP stream, even though Daily Dose does like you. It's just a death wish to publicly admit it. Exactly. For years, I thought maybe they would go away if you never talked about it, but I was wrong. They're no different than Peterson, Charlie, Kirk, Shapiro, or Fuentes fans at this point. It's unavoidable. Yep. It's basically Gamergate if Gamergate never went away and changed its course of harassment towards like anything and everything that is like technically leftist. That's it. But yeah, if you're out there and you truly want to understand like intellectual consistency or something, just match what Destiny used to say on the exact same issues back in like 2018, 2019 versus what he says now on the very same issues. Palestine being one of those issues. That's what you do when you are a mercenary and you have no genuine intellectual curiosity or interest in advocating for a position beyond winning an argument. Not even really winning an argument, but specifically looking like you won an argument.
Every side of the spectrum. And I think that's a lot more productive than just sticking to your side and condemning everybody who's like a little bit more close.
What I'm saying is like on a case-by-case basis, okay, on a case-by-case basis, there are some positions and points of view that point blank period are condemnable, and you don't need to sort of like see their point. You know? And again, I'm not saying that's always the case for everything all the time. I'm just saying, especially in this case, especially in this specific case, where we are talking about stuff that is in reference to and has parallels to Nazism, okay, it's worth taking a staunch position and being like, you know what, this is like bad.
This is, okay, I did that. I also did that in the video, but the point I'm trying to make is we both think it's bad, okay? So we're on the same side.
Okay, it's bad, but the fact it's bad.
How do we combat that? How do we combat that in the most effective way possible, in the most pragmatic way possible, in a way where people can actually like fucking come to an agreement on things, where the sides don't just get more polarized and a kick gets created and a Donald Trump gets elected president. You know, I want to meet people.
But here's the thing,
understand them, and then like also, hey, Kanye is also a fucking Nazi. What I say in the video, like, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but also Kanye is a piece of shit Nazi. Here's links. He's affected directly hate crimes on Jewish people. So I feel like I'm being really responsible in that way, where I'm not just like completely throwing away the other side, but reeling them in and then educating them on these things. Okay, I feel like that's a lot more effective and responsible than what a lot of other people do. And that's it.
I mean, I agree that you are kind of giving some of the people watching that video context, but simultaneously you sort of take almost like a nihilistic or, you know, careless kind of perspective on, well, there's no point in quote unquote doing anything about it, because it's not like your 12 or 15 or whatever amount of streams that you might give to a Kanye record. It's not like that means anything. And ultimately, if you're not a perfect person, then, you know, as Jordan Peterson says, you shouldn't be trying to put forward effort to fix the world anyway, because you can't fix or, you know, sort of like, you know, improve your own shit.
Well, okay. What I was trying to say with that is, people who endorse polarization and kind of like encourage it and
I hate this perspective from fence sitters that is like, oh, it's not the anti-Semitism is a problem, it's you pointing out that it's anti-Semitic that's a problem. Like, what the fuck are we doing here, man? That's crazy. What do you mean? Like, Anthony Fantano is not polarizing for saying Kanye West is a fucking Nazi. Kanye West is the actual polarizing figure for coming out and saying he loves Adolf Hitler. What the fuck is this conversation? It's one that you can only present, is one that you can only point to if